Hello and welcome to the Ol Switcheroo. This is our Switch-specific podcast. We're going to be talking about stuff that we know before the January 12th event. Not a whole lot. We kind of know the concept. We've heard some rumors, theories, things like that. And we're going to be going over all of that and kind of disseminating it in a really structured fashion, hopefully. I am your host for the evening. My name is Tyson. Joining me today is Will.
Hello.
Alex.
Hello.
And Mike.
It's your pleasure.
And in spirit, Matt's joining us, but not actually here.
Matt is my spirit animal, so he's here.
So let's kick things off with some basic impressions. So I'm going to go over kind of a few different things, and I kind of want to get your basic impressions on these things. So first off, the concept of the system itself. Let's start with Alex. What are your basic impressions of the concept?
I like it. I mean, I think it's without getting too deep into it, it's nice that it's a portable and home console. You know, you can choose to play it in your living room or to take it to work or school or whatever.
Or take a bath with it.
Yeah, if you want, if that's your thing. And then, the fact that you can play Zelda from your bath pretty much for the first time ever.
Exactly.
So,
that
alone that's a selling concept to me. And, I think it even goes further than that. But that alone was to me like, okay, this is the core of this new system. This is why it's going to sell, because it gives you the option to play it as you want. So I'm happy.
Yeah, off TV play was like a really cool part of the Wii U. I think people got a little too hung up on the two screen thing. I think off TV play was like the real strength of that.
Play is really the only reason I cared about the Wii U having it on our screen.
I think it's just awesome, the idea that you could play while watching TV or something, and then when you get to the point in the game where you're like, okay, well now I want my TV. You could. You weren't you weren't choosing between where they are. But there were limitations. I mean, the big thing was always, you could take it and go to the bathroom with you. I don't know about you guys, but it would start stuttering out and stop working when I went to the bathroom.
Yeah, it would.
But what about the Switch?
I tried to use my Wii U like a Nintendo Switch, and it didn't work out too well. So
took my dog for a walk. It just didn't work.
Mine started sputtering out too, but the Wii U was fine.
Yeah, it was fine for kind of in a limited sense, but being able to kind of have a lot more freedom to kind of move around with it and not worry about losing a signal or something is great. Now we can go to our neighbor's rooftop and play Mario.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you're hip, I don't think any of us are that hip.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I am definitely playing Mario at my hip rooftop party.
While barbecuing, totally breaking local law.
And an unannounced Mario game at that.
Yeah. I'm gonna play right on our trip to the go-kart place.
Yeah.
So, Mike, do you have any thoughts on the concept?
It's interesting on a few different levels. First, I want to check to make sure I'm not coming in too garbled, because most of that last conversation was pretty garbled for me. Can you guys hear me good?
I can hear you good.
You're coming in clear now. You were coming in at first a little bit garbled, but now you're coming in clear.
Yeah, just talk over me if I become unintelligible. It's probably the only piece of hardware I can think of that would make me interested in local multiplayer again. I think that's a very neat concept. The idea of taking this to a pub and playing Monster Hunter with a friend, really cool to me. Yeah. The idea of the modular concept of the controller, I think that's really cool. I like different form factors with what you're holding. It's what I love the most about the Wii. I love the split controllers. I like this because you can play it split, play it on grip. You can totally ignore that. You can use the Pro controller. So that's very neat. And on top of all that, just the unified library. That's the big deal. Because for me, I'm not looking at this as third parties. There's going to be some exclusives. There's going to be some partnerships, just like on the Wii U. But the big deal is having all the Nintendo games under one roof and having a console where I could play both Breath of the Wild and the follow-up to, say, A Link Between Worlds on the same piece of hardware. To me, that's a big deal. So that's what's most intriguing to me.
That's the dream. That's what we've been wanting for generations, and it feels like we're right on the precipice.
It's basically basically, it's basically the appeal for me is it's console level gaming on the go in a portable factor, which has been like a white whale for a long time. I thought the PlayStation Vita currently came closest to realizing that, but then PlayStation Vita didn't really get like any like console level games.
It didn't get any traction.
It didn't get any traction. It sucked. So that never happened with that piece of hardware. So I think it's really going to happen with the Switch. The idea of playing Zelda Breath of the Wild on a portable console is just amazing. I do want to stress that this is definitely a portable first, console second. Like literally the fact that it docks to a TV is like a secondary feature. You could tell this thing was designed to be a portable system through and through, and then they came up with the idea of, it docks to a TV and now you can play it like a home console.
I don't know if I agree on that they came up with the idea as a portable first. I think that they probably came up with the idea
I think
to wirelessly transmit to a TV, and then the failure of the Wii U basically made them go, okay, we need to get away from any kind of second screen.
I sincerely believe this started life as the successor to 3DS, and then along the way just kind of became what it is, like a dual console handheld, because the clues are all there for that. I mean, we are coming up on what would naturally be the end of the 3DS's lifespan, and not really the end of the Wii U's natural lifespan. You know, if the Wii U was actually a successful console. First of all. Second of all, it does use the game cards like the 3DS. And so,
well, it would have to if there's portability.
Yeah, it would, I think, like Sony tried discs in the PSP, and that didn't work out too well.
Yeah, moving parts on a portable are just not great.
Yeah.
Well, I would slightly dissent on it being a portable first, simply from what Iwata-san had said in those investor meetings, where it became of paramount importance to them, where they wanted to streamline their development and they wanted to make sure everything was integrated smoothly into their hardware. They had brought up iOS and they brought up Android before. It may not have been set that it was going to be one form factor before like this, and it still may not be. We don't know.
It's true. Nintendo, it's true. Nintendo was really concerned about fixing what they perceived to be the software droughts.
It's not a perception, it's a
reality. Yeah. They were like, they were very concerned with fixing the software droughts. And this looks like to be the solution to that, because now they don't have to develop for two completely separate pieces of hardware. And theoretically that should result in Switch getting a much bigger library than either the Wii U or the Wii did from Nintendo.
Yeah.
Bigger than the Wii U.
For sure, like easily.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, Nintendo released so many games for Wii U, it was overwhelming.
Next you're going to be saying it's going to have a bigger library than the N64.
Nothing ever.
It's surprising that they did actually release a bunch of games on the Wii U. Like, they had no reason to who was going to buy them. Even their
people got upset when Nintendo would announce like a new game for like 3DS, but it's like, well, people are actually buying 3DSs. So I don't blame Nintendo for focusing on their development resources on the 3DS.
Support for the Wii U, considering what it sold.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the total number of games Nintendo publishes on their systems, like across both, portables and home consoles, that's a pretty large number of games.
It's a pretty large, it's more games than most publishers actually put out in a year.
And across all
when you think about it,
genres and quality, you don't just have like the big title like your Assassin's Creed. You also have some of your tiny Tetris kind of
or the kind of like cheaty annualized games where it's like annualized sports games.
Yeah, people love to bitch about like Nintendo's output on like, and sure you could, but it's all myopically focused on one platform. They're not looking at Nintendo's total output across both platforms every year, and it is more games than any other company puts out in a year on that level. And it's like, so it's not like Nintendo, it's just their output is spread out, and all their games doesn't really end up on the platforms people want the games to be on.
Yeah, and this whole past generation felt a little bit like everyone everyone was, talking crap about Nintendo's like awful, games and everything on the Wii U. And it's like, dude, the 3DS exists. No, but it doesn't count.
Yeah. 3DS doesn't count because, I hate handhelds or that's like GameCube hardware, a sub GameCube hardware. So who gives a shit? It's like, okay.
To interject for our friend Matt, who is not joining us at the moment, he had brought this point up a while ago. Just that it almost seemed eerie how quiet Nintendo was on Wii U. This is not a console they tried to save. There was no drastic price cut. They made a couple of tokens, but they didn't move heaven and earth to try to move Wii U.
Yeah, did you?
It's almost like they've been waiting to just write this one off and get to the next chapter. Like they went, oh wait, we have a better idea. Let's get to that.
Yeah,
which is in stark contrast to what they did with the 3DS.
Oh, when it looked like the 3DS was gonna tank right after it came out, Nintendo freaked the fuck out. They slashed the price of the system immediately. They gave everybody who bought one free games to sort of apologize.
Ambassador program, yeah.
Yeah.
Wii U didn't have an ambassador program.
No, there's no sorry you bought this and it's dead now, before it was supposed to be dead. I would like my Wii U ambassador program. I want free games for Nintendo disappointing me with the Wii. They're probably going to cancel Breath of the Wild for the Wii U.
I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think so. I think it's too far along. I think they're going to release it not with the intention of selling a lot, but with the intention of just basically keeping that final promise, I think.
Yeah.
It's almost a PR move to release it now.
Well, it's weird because they officially discontinued the system. So you actually can't go into a store and buy a new Wii U unless that store happens to have leftover Wii U stock.
Which they all do.
So those stores are getting new Wii U's in stock. Actually, my store is sold out of Wii U's, and that means.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. So that means we're gonna be sold out of Wii U's forever. And
it must be a popular system.
Yeah, very popular system at Walmart in fucking New York. Yeah, it's very very popular.
But yeah.
Meanwhile, we can't sell any PS4 Pros. So
yeah, let's move on now and let's talk about the features of the system with our basic impressions. I'm gonna give Mike first crack at this one.
Features of the system, aside from video games, because games are, like we were talking about, are the most important thing.
Yeah, but how is this system going to enhance your gaming experience?
It's a good question. Well, aside from the local multiplayer thing, for me, it's fun just to have a gadget for the screwing around with the controllers. To me, that's a big deal. If they put an IR pointer in this thing that actually lets me point in a shooter again, I'm going to be made. I'm going to be so happy. But that aside, I keep saying that aside. That's annoying. I should stop that. To me, it's much more about the overarching goal here. It's much more about unifying the library, unifying the company, putting it all on one banner, and making a very strong system instead of two compromised systems. So when I got a Wii, I was buying all sorts of games. There's no way I would have normally bought a game like Trauma Center or something like that, but I did because I had a Wii and it was there. And Wii U, my buying habit has tapered off. Some of it because I'm getting older and don't play it quite as much, but there's also not quite as many interesting games. So the idea of Switch having a much more robust library like that, and not just the Assassin's Creeds of the world, all of these little niche sort of games, that's really what
I would argue that there are a lot of great niche games that are exclusive to the 3DS that you'll probably see reiterated on the Switch that would normally never come to any console.
Which is good for me as somebody who's console focused.
Right. Like Virtue's Last Resort, something like that.
A lot of Atlas stuff. Yeah.
NIS is actually making Switch games. They've announced, I know, Nipponichi. Yeah. They usually do a lot of Sony stuff.
Disgaea was for a long time, it seemed like it was a PlayStation exclusive, and then they eventually put out a version of Disgaea on 3DS. Yeah. And they made Phantom Brave port for the Wii.
Yeah,
and now they're putting that stuff out on like Steam and stuff. So they're kind of like opening up.
They're branching.
So that's really
for
cool.
a long time, they were like a very Sony loyal third party company.
That seems to be the case for a lot of Japanese developers that make a lot of niche kind of games,
right?
Like these guys,
like Vanillaware.
Yeah, like Vanillaware. So it's interesting to see these games or these companies coming to Switch. I think that's going to give. I think it's going to give Switch an interesting game lineup. Definitely more interesting than the Wii U.
I know my friend is this kind of or I was gonna say I have a friend who, like me, isn't really into handheld gaming as much, but is really big into like JRPGs and stuff. And the JRPG landscape outside of handhelds has been pretty shit since last generation, And now with this, it's kind of like it's almost like, okay, well now there's no differentiator between the handheld and the console, so now I have console games in that sense. Mike, you have a PlayStation TV, right?
Yeah, TV to TV, PS TV, whichever way you want to call it.
Yeah,
which my friend has as well. He uses for games like Trails of Cold Steel and stuff like that are like really kind of cool new JRPGs that we wouldn't get on consoles usually right now.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how garbage is the PlayStation TV?
PlayStation TV, I'm for what I'm using it for, I like it because to me it's a vanilla box. I get it to play the best version of Muramasa, golden. I get it to play the best version of Odin Sphere, fantastic. I'll get 13 Sentinels when it comes out. I haven't even opened Dragon's Crown yet. So for what I'm using it for, sort of hand-drawn 2D art games, love it. The idea of it being the handhold console on the go sort of thing, it never really dawned into that. I mean, that was the idea.
I bought one. I bought one with the intention of using it as like a PlayStation 1 retro, like sort of like a PlayStation Mini, a PS1 Mini, and then it's like Metal Gear Solid doesn't work, Silent Hill doesn't work, Castlevania Symphony of the Night doesn't work, and I'm just like, wow, fuck this thing then.
There is the memory cards. They absolutely gouge you on the memory cards. So that's why I went like, eyes open. I'm going to buy this only for Vita games that work on my screen. So I bought mine literally for $20. So one thing, you have a GameStop as a used one. Only want to play Vanillaware and like Final Fantasy X Remaster. Good $20 to spend. Outside of that, not so much.
Not so much.
Yeah.
But we digress.
Yes, we digress quite far. Tyson, lead us back.
Okay, so we're going to go off of features now. We're going to talk about games. So really what we're going to be talking about here is what was shown in the trailer, rumored or not. Of course, Nintendo's all, just because they're in the trailer doesn't mean we're getting them. We're just going to do it with the assumption that they are. So
that's just a pretty weak thing.
They're just teasing you, man.
Yeah, I think it's just a statement to cover their ass, so that if something happens and one of those games doesn't end up coming out, then they could say, well, we told you it wasn't a promise. Haha. Yeah.
It has to do with Nintendo's nature as a conservative company, as being very averse to overstating things.
Yeah.
To a pathological degree, I would say.
Yeah.
I did want to backtrack one sec before we get right into games, because we've gone right over features, and I will be crucified on the forums if I don't say voice chat. We have to have a voice chat system that actually works.
Yeah. We have to have voice chat system. Yeah, we have to have a account system that's actually a freaking account system. No friend codes. I just want to type in your username or even your real name if I happen to know you that well. Like if I want to add Tyson Gifford, I just type Tyson Gifford into the search bar, find his Switch profile, and add him, and then he adds me back. Can we just have something like that? Like why do I have to type in a bunch of stupid numbers for
The Wii U just made this confusing because you could do that through Miiverse, and it would link to your account system as well when you did that on the Wii U. But if you just went to the friends list, you couldn't.
Yeah, if you just went to the friends list, you had to type in stupid friend codes. Like that's the stupidest thing ever. So I hope they're dead on the Switch. I will be mad if I'm playing a Switch and I'm still using friend codes. It's like, what the fuck, Nintendo?
I think DNA might be heavily involved with the online infrastructure of the system.
Yeah.
And as a company that's really works in mobile, I think they're going to be pretty efficient with that. So that's my hope.
Yeah, and it's also it's somewhat hypocritical. I want to toss this over to Alex because he was big on this. That with the Wii U, we had video chat right there, and no one ever said, "Oh, hey, my creepy uncle might, talk to little Bobby and show him what a prison-shaped car looks like." No one really worried about that. Just go ahead and do it. But as Alex said many times over the past couple of months, like video chat was awesome. Like we would actually set up video chat on Wii U while we were playing 3DS and playing Monster Hunt.
Yeah, and that was, it really enhanced the multiplayer experience. Like this is something that I did with Matt very often. We would get on the Wii U chat. We would turn off our Wii U just for the chat, nothing else, because they didn't have Monster. Well, we're talking about 4 Ultimate. Yeah, so we would play 4 Ultimate on the 3DS while having the Wii U chat on with the Wii U gamepad on its stand, and we would look at each other while we were playing. Like we would ask each other questions. We would react to each other, and you got there's this point where you beat the what is it called, the Apex Devil Joe, which is like the hardest monster in the game. After 5 or 6 hours of complete failures, you finally beat him, and you can't believe that you just beat him because you just took 45 minutes of beating him, of attacking him. Then suddenly he dies, and you look at each other like, oh snap, and then you just go, wow, it's like you scored a goal like way better than that. So to me, that's I haven't experienced that in any other system. This is sort of what we had to. This was like our ghetto Nintendo Switch that we came up with. And,
see, now you'll need 2 Nintendo Switches.
Well, but the point is they could do it there. They could do something like that there with the Wii U. Not worry about what some would say. It worked out.
I mean, I think Nintendo just likes to ignore the fact that adults play their system. They just ignore you. They forget about you. They say that they don't want to have voice chat because you're going to be calling their moms like all sorts of nasty names while playing Splatoon online. And it's like, dude, I'm tired of listening to that too, but I just press the mute button. But I also want to talk to my friends while I play online.
And that argument would be fine if it was just on random, for random opponents. But when you're playing with a friend,
the argument falls apart the moment you play Call of Duty, literally the biggest shooter of past generation, right? Like, if everyone's talking trash, there's a mute all button. You click on mute all, and everyone's gone, and you forget about everything.
And your faith in humanity is restored.
Yeah.
I only listen to audio from people in my party anyway. So
you can totally do that.
Yeah, like randoms, no, I'm never going to hear you, so I don't care if you're calling me whatever the hell you're calling me. I'm not hearing it.
That would be a fine position for Nintendo to take, to make, even if they allowed non-party voice chat, hey, if you really want to have your conservative viewpoint on that, you could just make it by default be muted, and then give people the option to unmute it as they choose, as they see fit.
Yeah, that's actually totally fine for most of us.
Yeah, and that's how it worked in Monster Hunter 3U. When we would play on that, I mean, it was set up, I think, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, that it was set default to mute. You'd actually have to press on the screen, unmute it, and then you're in.
That seems to make sense. I honestly don't remember. It's been too long. It's amazing. We played that game for 1,000 hours, and I don't remember these basic things.
Well, I think it was something like that. But anyways, that actually is a neat segue right back into games, because I got us off on a tangent. We're going to talk about games, weren't we?
Well, I got the perfect segue from features to games as well. Local multiplayer, right? The portable local multiplayer. To me, I feel like the fact that you can take your Switch, pop off the 2 little Joy-Cons and play 2-player with someone, that's huge for games like Rocket League or FIFA or whatever.
Or Mario Kart,
Mario Kart. And personally, it makes me more interested in those kinds of games. I don't have to sit at home on my PC and, organize a Rocket League thing online with friends. I can just take it to somebody's house, bust up Rocket League real quick. That kind of thing. It gets me more interested in more games, and it's also also just really good for the games that thrive off that.
So when the trailer came out and some of the games were shown, what were the ones that really stood out to you?
Really just Zelda. I wasn't paying attention to any. No, actually, if I'm going to be straight, NBA, because that's a really good example of how to do that kind of local multiplayer.
I thought the Splatoon was interesting, where the teams got together with their Switches and they all like made Splatoon strategies and stuff right there. That was like really cool use of that feature. Obviously you can do that with Mario Kart as well, which they showed. So I thought that was pretty cool.
The big shocker was Skyrim. Nobody saw that coming.
It was kind of like a shocker, and then it was kind of like that's it, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I suppose
surprise, a game you played 5 years ago. I'm like, okay.
Skyrim was a surprise. I'm not into Skyrim myself, but just the fact that it's making a Switch game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, but Bethesda on board with the Switch in any capacity was like a huge shock, because Bethesda has always been one of those companies where they had this attitude like they didn't want to develop for Nintendo hardware. They had this attitude like Nintendo didn't cater enough to what they wanted in a console, so they weren't going to develop for Nintendo. So I have to feel really that Nintendo had to have approached them and courted them to get this on the Switch. There's no way Bethesda saw the Switch and just unilaterally decided Skyrim needs to be on this.
Well, yeah, but it's also probably a really easy game for them to port.
It's probably a test to see what they can do on the platform,
Well, they use their own engine, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the default game for that engine right now. So
yeah.
And it's Bethesda. They're not going to switch engines in like 20 years.
No, I know.
I would mention the one game we haven't talked about from the real. First, the one that really interested me was Zelda, but not just because it was Zelda. It was the hook of, okay, I'm playing Zelda in my living room, and now I'm picking it up and I'm walking out and I'm playing Zelda out there. That's what sold me. I'm there on that. But the new Super Mario game, I was looking, I was like, oh, that's a neat little surprise. I want that. So I'll take it.
How far along do you think that is?
Man, beats me. Nintendo is probably like a vault. It's like DuckTales, where they just have hidden Mario levels just back there you can pull out. Here's a nice
Miyamoto swims in it.
Here's what I think. I think it's finished. The rumors say it's finished. I think it's finished. I think Nintendo have been developing this for a while. It most likely started out as a Wii U game, probably a follow-up to Super Mario 3D World. And then it probably switched over to Switch some point at its life. I think the only reason we never knew about it was because it did jump to Switch, and of course Nintendo wasn't talking about Switch at all, so they're not just gonna bring up a Mario game coming out for a platform that they haven't even released any details about.
That's similar to that's part of the reason Mike mentioned what Matt said earlier about how it seems that Nintendo just a few years ago they decided they were done with the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on, they were really only releasing like the bare minimum, right? And whatever they could get from second parties, that sort of thing. Really, Splatoon was their biggest effort, the big last effort.
Yeah, Splatoon was the big last effort for Wii U.
I think that the biggest surprise from all of that was like the turn off on the DLC pipeline, because not just Splatoon, but Splatoon for like paid DLC. Mm-hmm. That would have been a goldmine for them to go into. Same thing goes for Mario Kart. Mario Kart DLC sold incredibly well. Mm-hmm. Why did it stop with just those 2 packs?
They just did, yeah. So I think that's what it is.
I think that's the reason why you're seeing Splatoon and Mario Kart on the Switch. Because Nintendo wants to do more with those games, but they just didn't want to do more with them on the Wii U because of how
they held it off.
Yeah,
they held it off. Like 2 or 3 years, 2.5 years ago, they decided, EA did great on the 3D World, but next one is gonna be for the Switch. They went to retro and said like Tropical Freeze is great, but next one's for the Switch.
Yes,
that sort of thing, and that's what it feels like. That's why we didn't get any announcements from a lot of what you usually expect from first party games, other than Splatoon, which is done by a bunch of other new people, and Zelda, which is
while. I mean, it's even got updates for not huge updates, but not the weapons for a
I
little
think it more than doubled in terms of its content, right? Like,
I remember I got that game. It had already been out for, I think, 2 weeks by the time I picked up that game. And it was already like double the content it shipped with.
Yeah,
and then it's like, since I got it, it's like 6 times the content, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny when you think about it. When it came out, it has a specific map rotation, right, in which you can only play 2 different maps every like 4 hours or so. And that made perfect sense when it came out, because you only had like 6 different maps or something like that. But now,
I think it was less.
yeah, no, it was very low amount of content. But now there are some maps that you just never play because of the map rotation system. Because there are so many maps in the game. You have, I don't even know if I can count them, but probably like 15. That's my guess. And plus, extra game modes, ranked mode, other features like playing as a team, as a squad. It got like, now it's more than a fully featured game. They could re-release the game as it is right now, and for $60, it would be a steal.
Yeah, and they could just put in like Octolings, which I imagine is what they're probably going to do with Splatoon, whatever it's going to be, or something. Put the Octolings in as the second team, or the opposing team, or whatever. Do a greatest hits of the maps. Even put in stuff that they've revised. There's like a revised Moray Towers, and there's the pre-revision Moray Towers. Screw it, throw them both there. Why not? It's into one thing, and put it out on launch day. Then support it again throughout the year. Put some new maps in, which they could have easily built by now. That's probably why they turned that spigot off. Thought, well, we just put all this on Switch instead. Why not?
Yeah, and that's because we're expecting that they're not going to add anything to the single player, but they could. They could just as well double the number of single player levels.
I'd like there to be more single player. The single player campaign was surprisingly good on Splatoon.
I liked it
because it seems like it was designed the way that Mario Galaxy is designed, right? Each level has its gimmick, and they develop puzzles. Yeah, it's fun.
That final boss, so good.
Yeah, it had like a platinum kind of final boss. That was surprising.
Yeah, it's like the most difficult Nintendo final boss, and
I was like straight out of Bayonetta 2.
What was that, Mike? I missed your last thing you said.
I just was not expecting to die that much on that boss. I was cruising through that single player. I was just having trouble actually finding the areas. Some of it was a little mazy getting to them. But yeah, the final boss whipped me, man.
Yeah.
It's bad. It was pretty bad.
So let's move on from games. Let's talk about, because this is structured, so we're going to getting back to some of this stuff again and talking about games and stuff. But let's talk about the name itself. Initial reactions, like I saw, seemed to be kind of like a weird kind of divisive in that I think a lot of fans really dug the name. And then like I'd hop on and see like, oh, I wonder what, IGN voice chat thinks, or I wonder what like this other, magazine thinks or something. And it seemed to be largely negative, not as negative as it was against like Wii or Wii U, not even close, but still pretty negative. But it was weird because it was so divisive that it was all like kind of slightly negative there and then mostly positive everywhere else. What did you guys think of the name?
I think the name perfectly describes what the system does. Like the major gimmick of the system is that switches between being a handheld and a console. So I think the name perfectly describes in one word what the system does, what the main hook of the system is, while Wii and Wii U describe jack horse shit about anything. Like seriously, like sight unseen, like if you didn't know what a Wii U was and you asked and you had to guess where that name came from, like even like looking at the system or playing the games, can you figure out what the hell Wii U is supposed to mean or where that came from?
Is it an ambulance simulator?
Yeah. I mean, but Switch, it immediately made sense, like, when I saw that name, So, yeah, 10 out of 10. Nintendo's messaging with the Switch is on point. They did more in a single teaser video to convince people about the Switch than they ever did with the Wii U at, like, E3, at an E3 press conference,
So I'm just going to group the last two categories right in here because they all go together. So we're going to be talking about the name, the logo, logo and the messaging as a whole.
Yeah, I think that works because it's all part of the same thing. So, and I'm really impressed by all of that right now. It's amazing. It feels like it's a different Nintendo, which is weird because when you look at how much of a mess the messaging was behind the Wii U.
Oh god, disaster.
It was so bad. You had stores advertising it as a controller.
Yeah.
Even watching Nintendo's E3 press conference for the Wii U, I couldn't shake, ask, is this a controller? Like, they just kept talking about, like, the damn controller, and I'm like, okay, but I want to see the system. And then you have, like, Reggie Fils-Aimé on fucking, like, talking to GF Kaylee or something, saying the console's irrelevant. Like, okay. Yeah, sure, it's fucking irrelevant. It's a thing that runs the games.
I remember, I think it was like 2 years after the Wii U came out. I was watching like a pre-E3 like coverage on like the local news out here in, like Los Angeles news. And the newscasters kept referring to it as a controller for the Wii.
Yeah.
Like, this is 2 years after the system had been out.
It's funny because, just like 2 months ago, nothing. Okay, so about 2 months ago, actually, we still had Wii U's in stock. Somebody asked me, somebody asked me if I had that controller for the Wii, and I was like,
2016 at least, and it's still happening.
And it's still happening. So it was that bad.
It was a complete failure in that, and the Switch trailer. I mean, everything from it being short. Like, I think it was necessary for it to be such a short trailer to make sure that the message was as concise as possible. The way they used the logo with the animation and the sound effects, the repeated like demonstrations over and over again of them undocking and docking it. It was like a complete reaction to what happened with the Wii U.
Yeah.
To the point that if the Wii U wasn't such a disaster and the Switch was still coming out, but it wasn't that much of a disaster with the Wii U, I don't think we would have had a presentation even remotely like this. This is like completely reactionary, I think.
Oh yeah, well, it's definitely reactionary. I mean, if the Wii U was like a roaring like success, like more successful than the Wii, we wouldn't even be talking about Switch right now, to be honest.
No, but I'm saying, like, let's say it wasn't even that successful. Let's say it was just kind of moderately successful. Like, it was just like GameCube level, it was doing okay. That's about it. I think that we would not have gotten like even with the Switch still coming out, it would have been like an hour-long stage presentation on the first debut. It would have been done completely differently. There would have been no effort to make it so concise. I think that the whole dock thing would be completely different. I think there's no way, if it had to dock, that it would cover the screen when it was docked, for example. I think just the covering of the screen when it's docked is completely reactionary to the failure of the Wii U.
I mean, it's like they hit rock bottom. They gotta figure out how to get out.
Yeah.
Completely reevaluate life choice.
Yeah,
they had an intervention.
It's really interesting. I don't know what the thinking was behind the Switch. Not Switch. I don't know what the thinking was behind the Wii U. I don't know why everything was as bad as it was regarding the Wii U. It's not like Nintendo hasn't been in the console business for fucking decades at that point. It really felt like amateur hour. And it's like, I just don't understand it to this day. I just don't understand why that was the way it was. Like, they really thought they having a controller with screen in it was like the greatest thing ever.
I think they thought they were in some way trying to bridge the gap between the quirkiness of what they were doing would be in taking that in to a new console. And the only way they could think of doing it was, well, hey, two-screen gaming works on the DS. Let's just do that and put it on a regular dual analog gamepad like all the third parties are asking us to do. So the games are easier to make for them, and they don't have to build around our different control scheme. That's again, we were in the room. That would be my guess. They were trying to just meld those two things together, which in a roundabout way gets you to Switch. They were trying to use something that worked on handheld and make it work in the living room as well.
It was like a half step.
It didn't work right with the Wii U. And I think they realized that they had reached the end of two-screen gaming. And that's what the Wii U was. They thought they could take it further, but they realized, why are we even using this second screen? Most Wii U games don't need the second screen. Some used it.
Yeah.
Most did not. And I think they realized that as well. They realized, well, sorry guys, there's not much more we can do here.
Yeah, I think there was a kind of a weird pressure they felt to embrace that second screen. And then they kind of started to realize that, well, the real selling point all along should have been the off TV play. And I honestly think, like, I think both of you guys are Wonderful 101 fans, for example, right?
Alex more than me.
Yeah, Mike not so much.
I just always suck at that game.
It's his black sheep from Platinum Games.
Yep.
But that game would allow you to play it with a single screen, but you had to do a weird picture-in-picture mode kind of thing.
Right.
But the parts where you'd enter into a factory or a warehouse and it would go on the other screen, it just felt so forced to me and unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. And a little bit
the whole idea of the game has to be a window to bring you into the game, and those things sort of took you out.
Yeah. And another example of that would be the frustration I had with Lego City Undercover, where I'm everything that was showing on that screen could have been done just as easily on another way with a single screen experience that would have allowed me to play that game with off TV while I was watching a show or something. Mm-hmm. And I played that game so slowly because of that, because there'd be points where, just, disacknowledging how bad the load times were in itself on that game, but
and they were.
But just the idea of okay, it's an open world game, so there's a lot of parts where you're just kind of running around and trying to build up some coins so you can buy, a new spot to get your cars on, or these little things that you have to do. That would have been perfect for off TV play, because I could have been running around doing all that while I watched TV, and then okay, I want to take a story mission. Well, I want to hear, all of Honey's ridiculous dialogue, so I gotta switch to TV now.
The thing is that they were trying to force the feature into games that didn't need it.
Exactly.
But at the same time, they weren't putting in the work to put in games that needed the feature. Games like, you remember Battalion Wars on the Wii or on the GameCube?
Mm-hmm.
That's a game that would be a lot better by using the dual screen, but they never even looked. They probably did look into it, and for some reason they never developed it. That's a game where, you can use use a bird's eye view and a third-person camera view.
Weirdly, the entire Advance Wars or Wars series has been completely dead this generation.
Yeah, just Fire Emblem cover.
Yeah,
it actually started selling.
Waifu Emblem.
They got it to stay alive, so it's hard for me to complain.
I
never
can't
even beat them.
I can't.
I always just bought them and then quit.
I can't complain. I love Fire Emblem. I wasn't very good at Advance Wars, so yeah, I never beat Advance Wars. Although, so it's not it's not one of those franchises that I have any emotional connection to.
Right. It's not when's the next F-Zero, we have it for Advance Wars. Fire Emblem is not that different. It's similar enough that you're okay, let's keep getting Fire Emblem.
So I'm going to move us along now. I'm going to talk about some rumors that have come up since the kind of reveal, or around the time of the reveal, I guess. So let's kick things off with some rumored games. Just kind of let's go over and see what you guys think about this, if you think it's true, and what you expect out of it. So let's kick things off with Beyond Good and Evil 2. Do you think this is a thing? You think this is a Switch exclusive?
I don't know if that's actually a Switch exclusive or not. I know it's a thing because Michel Ancel has been talking about that, and he's been releasing artwork, and he also said, I'm never going to be able to pronounce this man's name right. Yves Guillemot, personally asked him to make Beyond Good and Evil 2. So I know it's a thing that's happening. I don't know if it's a thing that's a Switch exclusive. It doesn't match. That rumor doesn't match up with Ancel's own comments about the game. So it's one of those rumors where I know it's coming from these sources that have have been correct on pretty much everything so far. But then again, Ansel's the guy making the game, so like he would know more than anybody. It is
the perfect kind of game that would market to the Nintendo audience. So
it is, but like he's talking about like he keeps describing it as like this epic game that needs modern hardware to be made. We don't know if the Switch hardware is at the level that he's talking about that he needs for the game to work, which is one big thing. That's already one big contradiction. So I don't know. I don't know if this is a thing that's actually happening. It seems kind of insane. But maybe that will be announced.
The way that I see it, it's there is no need for the game to be a Switch exclusive. So are they going to force it to be an exclusive? Yeah, just release it multi-platform. I don't see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say if this is announced as like a 1-year timed exclusive to Switch, I'm gonna be disappointed. I'm gonna be happy that the game exists and that the game is on the Switch, of course. I'm gonna be happy for that. I am gonna buy it for the Switch if that is a thing. I'm gonna be disappointed at the timed exclusivity because I really don't think the industry needs to be doing this timed exclusive bullshit. Like they did that with Tomb Raider, and it sucked because that was one game like I really preferred to play on the PS4, and they were like, well, it's on Xbox for a year, and fuck you. And I'm like, well, okay.
There's a big difference between an exclusive that's paid for, like for example, Bayonetta 2 was a game that wouldn't happen if Nintendo didn't step in.
Right, Bayonetta 2
versus a game that was going to happen anyways.
Right, in the case of Bayonetta 2 or even Scalebound, which Microsoft just canceled, it's like Microsoft, Nintendo was funding Bayonetta 2, Microsoft was funding Scalebound. That makes sense. That's fine. It's fine to fund games to bolster your first party lineup. That's why it's called a first party game lineup,
Yeah.
So, but if Nintendo's not funding Beyond Good and Evil 2 in any way, if this was a game that was going to be made no matter what, and it's just a timed exclusive, then that's lame. And people, companies in the industry need to stop doing this. But that's my little rant on that subject.
Any thoughts, Mike?
Well, it makes sense to me for Beyond Good and Evil 2 to be on Switch simply because if there's any third party Nintendo has had any decent relationship with as of late, it's been Ubisoft. Why not? So they're going to get the first round of dev kits. If I even remember correctly, I think the team that was making Red Steel 2 had some help from Retro just on building for the Wii when they were making Red Steel 2.
I definitely read that in some interviews, yeah.
So there's a business relationship there that makes sense to pursue. If you're going to put a test balloon out there, and if your Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed 3 didn't really work last time, didn't really put people into the console, didn't really get you a new audience on a new piece of hardware, what will? Maybe this. So in any other generation, it's absolutely true. This doesn't really make sense. But this generation, why not? I can't see Beyond Good and Evil 2 selling like Grand Theft Auto or something. I don't think it would be, the hugest thing for Sony or Microsoft either. It would be a nice get.
A buzz title.
Yeah, so it makes a degree of sense for Nintendo to have it, and the business relationship just seems to be in place.
Yeah, I agree. It makes sense. I guess it's just my attitude is like go all the way with the exclusivity or don't, because I don't think having Beyond Good and Evil 2 1 year exclusive is going to do anything for Switch sales one way or the other. I don't think that series doesn't have that large of a following for that. That's equivalent to the Bayonetta 2 on Wii U, which was nice. Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome game, but that series never had the kind of following where it was going to turn around Wii U's fortunes, and it never did.
That was the Wii U's ambassador program.
It's really Nintendo has, put all the money they would have put into Beyond Good and Evil exclusivity. They're going to buy Scalebound now.
They're going to buy Scalebound. I am interested if now that Platinum is on the developer list for the Switch, so I'm wondering if Scalebound is now canceled. I'm wondering if Platinum will focus now on putting out a Switch game. That would be interesting. I'm hoping that's what's happening, like deep in my little heart of hearts.
They could be making something for the Switch.
They have
They'll
to
make a port of Star Fox Zero.
Oh God, no!
I mean, it could be good. Honestly,
with real controls, please.
Well, I'm on the party that I say, if you didn't get the controls, that's it's not that it's on you, but they were fine for me, man.
I don't know. I never played that game, so
right.
talking out my ass.
I get towards that game. It's like almost no one played it. Like it probably was like 10,000 of us that actually played it. And,
it was the second screen, I think, stuff that I think bothered me.
Did you play it?
I didn't play it, just from what I saw. Like, that was the kind of stuff that I was like, oh. It looked like an example of that unnecessary.
You hardly use a second screen, but you do have like tiny moments in which you do. And yeah, it is annoying. Yeah. For the other,
seemed like Wonderful 101's implementation of it.
Well, I think that's the problem. That's the problem with the dual screen solution in the first place on the Wii U. It's like any game that's going to utilize it means you're going to be looking back and forth between your TV and your tablet, and that is actually not something you want to be doing. That's a large reason why so few games actually implemented those type of features, is because switching your focus constantly is not comfortable. On the 3DS it makes sense because both screens are right there, so you only have to move your eyes. But it makes a lot less sense with the Wii U.
It's also, you're going to be at different locations, so the focal length changes too with your eyes. Yes. But the one thing I would say, kind of in defense of the two screen thing, even though I'm the one that's been poo-pooing it, is that just like there's rules in like filmmaking or in music or anything, oftentimes you can get amazing results by breaking those rules with intention. And the game that should be brought up for this is Zombie U, because Zombie U would do things like you have to look into the controller to manage your inventory, to do things like that. It is like you said, Will, it is like uncomfortable. It takes you out of it for a moment, but Ubisoft used that with intention to make the game even more tense.
Yeah, because then it's like you're looking at your inventory, trying to get out some ammunition, trying to reload your handgun, and you look at the screen and a zombie is getting up and about to attack you. Like, that's the point. The point is that you were about to miss that because you were too deep into your backpack. But yeah, I mean, that was not. I mean, I think really the Wii U was abandoned from like the first year in concept, in execution, in everything.
It was really
games for it, but they never explored like the actual features it had, the potential for its game design, nothing.
Well, it was really hilarious. You can people are going to spend decades studying the failure of the Wii U as part of gaming history.
Be in history classes at college.
It's definitely going to be a part. It's going to go down as one of the greatest failures, like next to like the Sega Saturn.
No, I think in all honesty, it's going to be remembered warmly by people.
I think it's going to be remembered warmly as a system.
No, yeah,
just like Dreamcast.
People are going to pretend that it was a great system and they all loved it.
I know.
It wasn't successful.
I will be the first one to tell you right here, right now. Software-wise, it is a great system, and I love it. Hardware-wise, concept-wise, everything else-wise, it's a very
more than anything messaging-wise, yeah.
Or it's a very problematic system, and it's very clear why it failed. I have not been on board with any other aspect of the system for the longest time, and so the only thing I adore about the Wii U is the software and the fact that I can play most games just on the gamepad. That's the only thing those are the only things that endear me to that system. So in that aspect, yeah, but it's going to be interesting because there's so many points where you could point to and you could say, yep, while it was happening, and you could say, yep, this is a failure. Nintendo's Direct in like January 2013, their Nintendo Direct, where they showed all the games that were coming out for Wii U, and that was literally all the games coming coming out for Wii U. Besides, like, Splatoon. Splatoon wasn't there, but aside from Splatoon and, like, Super Mario 3D World, there's literally every game. Like, they announced, Wind Waker HD. They announced, new Fire Emblem, Shin Megami Tensei, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Yoshi's Woolly World, and then those games took years to come out over the entire lifespan of the system. And Nintendo never had another Direct or like E3 or anything where they announced like a glut of software like that for that system ever again. So it was very clear that after you saw that Direct, you saw most of the software Nintendo had planned for the system, and that was it. It was done.
So I'm going to pull us back on topic because we were talking about rumored games.
We were. I don't know how that happened.
So going on to another Ubisoft rumored game, what about this Rabbids Mario RPG crossover thing?
That sounds weird as hell, and I love it.
Killer shrooms from outer space, yes. This is a very old Wii U joke there. But, I mean, it's if you're going to make a crossover RPG, you're looking for a third party that's actually likes you, kind of hard to go back with these.
Yeah, it's,
if you got an IP and you want to make it more popular, just do a crossover with Mario. And it's not a joke, it's real. Like, Ubisoft been waiting for it's like, hey, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Ubisoft is like, and it's funny because, Nintendo isn't developing this game. According to the rumors, Ubisoft is developing this game. Apparently, it's going to be an RPG. But it's not going to be in the style of a traditional Mario RPG. It's going to be more of like a strategy game like XCOM, which is, right, I'm having a hard time envisioning this game. It sounds completely bonkers.
Rabbids Mario crossover I have trouble just with that alone.
Yeah, now it's going to be XCOM style.
Skylanders monstrosity, but with a
and apparently, yeah. It's funny, like the number one amiibo game people want Nintendo to do was basically a Skylanders ripoff. People want...
Like, please, I want to spend more money.
Yeah, people want to use all their amiibos in a Skylanders type game for some reason. It's funny because Activision actually pitched that to Nintendo as a Wii U exclusive, and they kind of turned that down and said, nah, we're good with that. Thank you.
Even Nintendo's like, wait, you want to make a game on the Wii U?
Yeah, I know.
This is a trap.
Yes, it's a trap. What?
I'd say the one thing that kind of makes me sad about this is that the one company that doesn't get the South Park game is Nintendo, and that's Ubisoft now. Wasn't developed. The first one wasn't developed by Ubisoft, but the second one is still nothing about Nintendo. Yeah. So if I was going to get an Ubisoft RPG, I wanted
Ubisoft have it. Ubisoft actually hasn't announced any games for Switch other than Just Dance officially. So there's no indication Ubisoft is supporting any Switch in any capacity other than
if any third party is.
Here's Just Dance. So there's zero. But yeah, the rumors are saying Ubisoft does have big plans for Switch support. But rumors. I guess I don't know. What other rumors were there that worth talking about? No. That does not come from any kind of credible source. Let's not even entertain that. Metroid, please. Oh, I
can't get my hopes up on that one.
I got a good laugh. Yeah. So, credible rumors right now.
We're all Metroid lovers here, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Metroid Prime was like the best game on the GameCube. I will fight you.
So this is how we test your metal, William.
Yeah.
Is Super or Prime the better game?
Prime.
Oh, them's fighting words.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting out of Hangouts right
now. I knew that would ruffle some jimmies. But you know what? I never actually played Super Metroid when that was brand new.
That's even worse.
You said when it's brand do. You have played it though, right?
I have played it. I bought it on the Wii.
Oh, you mean you didn't play it back then? Okay.
No, I didn't play it back when it was new. I said I did buy it on my Wii U, and I've beat it. I've beaten it twice now. It's a fantastic game. It's it's one of those classics. But it's also like ask people the question, what's better, Zelda Ocarina of Time or A Link to the Past? Old school Nintendo fans are gonna say Link to the Past, and you ask anybody newer, and they're gonna say Ocarina of Time, and it's gonna be like, well, it's fighting time now.
Well, now you got people that are going to say Wind Waker and stuff too. So.
yeah, Wind Waker and stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of like 12 and 13-year-old kids now who are going to say Breath of the Wild. And I'm going to be hard pressed to say wrong, probably by the looks of the game.
By the looks of the game, yeah, I'm going to be hard pressed to say they're wrong. It
might be the best when it comes out, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about Metroid is that if it does come, I hope it's not from Retro. Not because I don't like what they do with Metroid, but just because fucking give them an original IP already.
My God,
I mean, how long?
I want to see Retro do something that is unique to Retro. I don't want to see them working on another Nintendo franchise.
Yeah.
New IP, completely Retro. I don't care what genre it is. I don't care what form it takes. It could be cutesy. It could be hardcore. It could be just be a unique new game that is totally retro, because they're clearly a very talented studio, and I would love to see what that talent can do with their own ideas.
Let them spread their wings and fly,
Yes.
Nintendo.
On that same merit, let 343 make something that's not Halo, Microsoft. I mean, it's ridiculous, this whole sequel.
I'm more and more of the mind on Mike's team, where his point is usually that, well, can Retro even do that anymore? They could just be
Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is freaking amazing, and if you try,
it is good, but they did lose a ton of talent from back in the prime days.
They do have some new talent though.
They do have
But so is this new talent people that can make a new, unique, amazing IP?
They definitely can.
They got some people from like Naughty Dog, and I think they got some people from when LucasArts went under.
Yeah, I think so.
So they got some big talent. They just, they're just not really using it to its full potential, I think. The last game I'm going to bring up here is Mother 3 for Virtual Console.
Oh God, don't play with my heart. I've been holding out for a Mother 3 English port since like 2006 or something. I put it on my IGN wish list. It's still there. It's going to be there until the end of time, until it actually fucking happens. I'm not giving up hope.
All the big, in quotation mark, leakers are citing it though.
Yeah. So and it's not even the first time that those rumors have made the rounds. Emily Rogers was talking about that, but now the reasoning is that Nintendo was doing it, but they scrapped it in order to just port it over to the Switch, and that's why we didn't see it.
Any thoughts, Alex?
I could have played that game like 5-6 years ago, and I just keep putting it off, to be honest. I tried playing it while I was, attempting to learn Japanese, and that kind of stopped me because it was too hard. It's a hard game. Japanese is hard. So,
yeah.
When I was like, I can just download a translation. No, I still didn't do it. I've just been kind of waiting on it. Not really waiting for the port. I just haven't really felt like playing it. Now, would it be cool? Yeah, it would be cool. Those games are great. Those games are
amazing.
I mean, games like Undertale and Lisa came straight out of that school of thought, where it's, make an emotional game about real issues and make it funny and
right.
child, and people like that. So it would just be like a nice gesture from Nintendo, really, if they port it. There is no need, really. It's gonna be like 10 people that buy it, but it would be cool. And it would get them 3 points from the media. Man, media just loves that kind of stuff.
Mike, you chomping at the bit for Mother 3?
Not chomping at the bit, I must say. I know that our friend Citizen of the Run on the forums is COV definitely is. I would totally expect to see the Switch presentation and them announce Manga 3 is coming and then say, yeah, when we finally get around to launching Virtual Console sometime next year, because
apparently, according to the leakers now, according to Laura Kate Dale and Emily Rogers, Nintendo is not going to announce Mother 3 at the Switch presentation. They are going to announce it at E3 as their one more thing that you can play today at their E3 Nintendo Direct. Which raises questions. Why is a Virtual Console port of an ancient Game Boy Advance game being saved for E3? Who the hell knows?
And why would you know about that this far ahead of time? You know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, Emily Rogers apparently knew about Switch.
Like, sure, she's got sources, but I'm saying like the people that make these conferences don't know yet.
I swear to God, all these leakers, these people's sources are all people working at Ubisoft in like fucking Paris. It has to be.
All right, let's go to rumored hardware here. Region free. There's a lot of traction on this rumor. I kind of personally doubt it. I just can't see Nintendo going back to region free after taking region free out of their portables.
Right.
What do you guys think? Mike?
It would be a very Nintendo thing to do for them to take this giant leap forward with Switch. They've gotten so much right about Switch. They've gotten the name right. They've got the logo right. They've got the philosophy right. Everyone knows they're switching to doing something different, and then they go back.
Well, yeah, it makes they're doing everything right. What are they going to do wrong? That's probably a better question.
What are they going to mess up? This
yeah.
could totally be one of them. And there's a defensible position for why region locking is still a thing. I get it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't want it to happen, and this is definitely something where I could see Nintendo backtracking on, simply because there's enough conservative people in Kyoto who run everything in Nintendo who say, no, wait, we don't want all of these games playable everywhere. That's just how they roll.
So I know you import games, Alex. What do you think?
It would be nice, to be honest, but I feel like in the past few years they've done so well that it hasn't really crossed my mind. Like there were a few Wii games that, were annoying to have to import them. I mean, the whole, Operation Rainfall campaign was built on the fact that some of the best Wii games would not have gotten.
That was like some bullshit. I mean, what the hell,
So, the Wii U, it didn't feel that way. We just got more straight up.
Right. Well, yeah, there was no there was no games announced for the Wii U that were Japan only that we were oh fuck, we need this game. Like, those games don't exist for the Wii U.
It feels the same for the 3DS. I don't think
Yeah, so either Nintendo was better at releasing those niche games or nobody just bothered to develop them.
At this point, I just don't know if they're going to continue releasing, Japanese exclusives. So I'm not sure that we'll need it, but I mean, if that's the case, obviously it's better for us to have the option to import and just play them.
The one area I could see it really coming in useful for like me would be there are games that are just basically impossible to bring over from Japan because of licensing rights. On the DS, the perfect example of that is like Super Jump Stars, where that's all under one umbrella in Japan. In America, all those franchises, it's like 20 umbrellas. It's impossible. They can't bring it over here with the rights. Right. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of the games that I think about now, I mean, both the Project X Zone games came out over here. Tokyo Mirage Sessions came out here. That's nuts. Who'd expect that? And
right. Can we just start an Operation Rainfall for Dead or Alive Extreme 3? I know that's not on Nintendo, but somebody's got to do that, right?
Get on it, Tyson.
Yeah.
I gave up that hat. So let's
You wore well.
Let's go on. We talked about the other shoe dropping, about Nintendo doing all these great things and then doing something bad. Well, the one thing that seems to be almost universally accepted is going to be the other foot dropping is a mediocre battery life.
Yeah, I think we're in for mediocre battery life for sure.
Define mediocre.
Yeah, that's
I can't define. I don't know. It works for 5 hours. That doesn't work. It's probably going to be better than the abysmal battery life of the Wii U gamepad, which I don't know if anybody that was just horrible. You couldn't.
Yeah, that was like
barely.
more than
You could barely play games without having to plug your Wii U gamepad in and start having charging it. It's like, really?
It got to the point where, like, whenever I'd play Xenoblade Chronicles X, I would just automatically grab the plug from the charging stand, disconnect it, and plug it right in. It just wasn't even worth trying.
Here's a wireless controller. You can only use wirelessly for like an hour.
One kind of go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if we're putting a figure on it, man, 4 hours. If they can eke 4 hours out of it, half a work day, it's enough for one long marathon, or it's enough to turn the thing on and off a couple of times during the day without charging it. If they can hit that, I think they would probably mitigate some of the backlash. Oh my God, I can't play Switch because it always just dying on. Anything lower than that could be problematic, and unfortunately, it's by some of the rumors that's what it sounds like we're going to be having.
See, what they need is it has USB-C, so it can do. It seems to have USB-C, which would be fast charging compatible. USB-C devices can charge very fast, but I think what Nintendo needs is a Nintendo branded solar hat.
Oh my God. A solar Mario hat?
Solar Mario hat that you walk around wearing and charge up your Switch.
Well, you
put a lot of Actually, that's what the vitality sensor is. We're going to go back to that.
Yeah.
It's going to steal your life force and siphon it to the Switch.
Exactly.
Nintendo branded bicycles with extra resistance to help charge it up.
It actually comes with a resistance band on the back of it. That's not a kickback.
You just kind of flick it back and forth over and over.
Yeah, it's like one of those wind-up flashlights, you know?
Battery life. Yeah, I'm guessing between 4 and 5 hours optimal. The thing is that if developers are smart about it, if they make like an indie game, for example, could really like turn off a bunch of the cores on the system, turn down the resolution on the screen, and get a lot more battery life out of it. I don't know if that's going to happen. It would be cool if it did, because that would mean that you'd know, hey, I could get 4 or 5 hours of high performance gaming out of this, or I could, play Shovel Knight for 10 hours.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of cool. I don't know if we're going to see anything like that, but that's just kind of almost accepted, just based on the sheer possibilities of what you can do with power and hardware these days. Next hardware rumor we got up here is Maxwell architecture. Now, to not go too heavy into specs, Maxwell is, I believe, what was used in the it's the X1 chip, which is what was initially rumored that it was going to be using an X1. We've heard kind of things going back and forth about that was people commenting about the X1. We're talking about the initial dev kits and the new dev kits.
I'm going to tell you right now, I really do not care about this. It's just gone.
I feel the same way for myself. Like this, all this knowledge of what specs the system is going to have, or what kind of chipset is going to have, what kind of improvement NVIDIA has done to their chips. I don't feel like it really affects me as a gamer, especially playing a Nintendo system.
Right.
Or knowledge of it even matters in the end. It's up to developers. Right?
If it runs most games, even at low resolutions, it'll be fine. I don't really care.
It tells me that, Mario's still going to look amazing at 60 frames per second, and Skyrim is still
Zelda still looks amazing on the Switch.
Yeah,
and Zelda on Fallon is anything to go by.
Yeah, it looks great.
Meanwhile, Bethesda's games are still not going to run on the system. They can't code.
Bethesda's game's still going to be buggy as shit. So
but they're going to be that way on every system.
The dragon is flying backwards at 15 frames instead of 20. Worst system ever.
I did want to plug our friend Good Twin on the forums. Forums, who has a fantastic Nintendo Switch spec thread. So if anyone listening would like to get on the wonkery of this, he's got a lot.
Oh yeah. If you want to geek out over specs,
and it's an interesting enough topic if you're going to be looking at it more from a third-party perspective of what sort of games are we expecting to see, because some of this stuff that everyone talked about, why games didn't come to the Wii U, didn't have anything to do with power. Far Cry, Grand Theft Auto, and
I think it had more to do. I think it had more to do with the engines that were officially supported on the Wii U more than the actual system power, because Unreal Engine 4 didn't have official support. CryEngine wasn't officially supported. And I think, a lot of developers didn't really want to quite go through the effort of, they were developing their games in those engines, and they didn't want to go through the effort of trying to make those engines work on the Wii U.
Like Mike mentioned, what was it, Crysis 3, right? Didn't Crytek say, we actually have the game running on the Wii U, we were just told to scrap?
Yeah.
I think it was
so
Far
you
Cry.
could be playing this right now, but we're not going to sell it.
No,
Right.
that was Crysis. It was
Crysis.
CryEngine. Yeah.
I was trying.
But just
one of the things about the Wii U now, or one of the things about the Switch is that Switch does officially support Unreal Engine 4. It officially supports every engine out there. So developers don't really have that excuse that says, well, our game is built for this engine. It probably won't run on this system. They can't really do it. All they have to do to get a game running on the Switch is they might have to dial down the resolution. They might have to turn off some effects. Games already, the games are on PC. They already scale like that, so there's no reason that a Switch can't run it.
They just want to see the install base. That's it.
Yeah.
The install base, they're not going to put in any.
It's not going to be like a Wii to Xbox 360 situation where you literally cannot put an Xbox 360 game on a Wii, which was Wii's major
Without
problem.
completely rebuilding it, yeah.
Yeah, which was Wii's major problem, because the install base for the Wii was there, but we couldn't run any of the popular games at the time, so...
Yeah. Well, that's just to double back over to what I was mentioning with GT stuff here on the forum. I sort of got off on a tangent on the Wii thing, which is more about Wii U thing, which was more about the Switch will support all of this stuff. It will support a scaled down version. That's where he sort of gets beats on this stuff, where there's still going to be a power chasm. It's just not going to be as dramatic. You have to keep in mind of the power draw of what the Switch is actually going to be using. So it's not quite fair to look at a device that's, running on a battery in your backpack, compared to, the power brick right next to your, outlet at home. So it's still going to be a matter of some effort involved of scaling a game back, then optimizing it for Switch, but it is at least supported. That's insofar as console power. That's a sort of academic question for me, since Nintendo has proved they have plenty of talent just working with the Wii U's power. If they had told me at the presentation, oh, sorry, this is only going to be as powerful as the Wii U, I'm all right with that.
Yeah.
But for anyone looking for the ins and outs on this stuff, check out Good Twin on the Nintendo Enthusiast forums.
Yeah, I go with that recommendation as well. I think for me, when it comes to architecture, the only concern I have is that it's modern as far as like hardware shaders and everything, and that way it should continue to have engine support so long as the system sells. And I think, to me, that's all that matters. But then again, my position has always been that this is the least necessary generation of consoles ever by like a huge margin.
It feels that way to me too.
Yeah. So I think it's all possible.
That sort of, I guess, brings us into, it's got to sell. What's it got to sell at? So what's the price? What's the sweet spot?
See, I actually have that going later on my list here.
Okay, go for it. What's the next time?
So I was going to say the last hardware rumor is VR, which...
Well, no, that's not happening. Okay.
I fully believe that Nintendo has some kind of a test apparatus for this. I don't think they're going to release it.
Switch won't be able to do, I guess it could do VR in the sense that Samsung does VR on their phones, but yeah. I just, that's not a compelling experience. Next.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the main thing that a lot of people need to know is if you haven't used something like a Galaxy VR or like Google Cardboard or any kind of a VR viewer like that, try doing it with a low resolution phone and you'll see why, like those things look like garbage when you have a 1080p screen up to your eyes.
Right. Those things actually need 4K screens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's literally magnifying the pixels in front of your eyes.
Honestly, yeah, it doesn't start to get decent until you get to like a PlayStation VR experience. The Samsung, the Google Cardboard can't match up to that, and even then, like you have the Oculus Rift on the PC, which is a superior experience to PSVR. So if you want real, honest to God VR experience, you're not going to be able to do that on the Switch at all. I don't think it's worthwhile for Nintendo to pursue that on the Switch.
Then again, if anybody could do it, it would be Nintendo, because I could see them leaning into the low resolution of the screen and going like, here's some stylized pixel graphics.
Well, I guess,
to go with this low resolution screen.
Well, I guess Nintendo couldn't do proper VR in the 90s either, but that didn't stop them with Virtual Boy. So, although maybe
I think this is an example of something that they probably, I'm sure they had in development, especially with the kind of modular style of the Switch, but that it's doubtful they'll ever release it. Do you have any thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, I'm not sure that they will go VR. I could, to be honest, if they wanted to put money into it. But I feel like if they were weighing their priorities, they would choose to do some AR.
Right.
Instead.
To his credit, Kimishima said in a recent interview, with regards to VR,
he gave a very standard PR
response. He said it's not something they're rolling out. Which, you say that's a standard PR response. I say that's a very unstandard response from Nintendo for stuff they're not doing. Like if Nintendo isn't interested in something or pursuing something, they will usually just flat out say it.
They'll say at this time too, though, because they did that with
No, and then you gotta weigh how far their interests go. They did the whole vitality sensor. They were super interested in that. They were totally
they couldn't make it work. From what I heard,
they were like, no, we're gonna go even bigger. We're gonna do quality of life stuff. That's where we're really at. That's where we're gonna be at for the next 50 years.
Yeah. From what I understand, quality of life, that was a big Iwata driven initiative, and the thing about that, I don't know what killed it. I don't think they could get that to work either. I don't think many in Nintendo actually believed in that project outside of Iwata. I think after Iwata passed and Kimishima took the reins, I think it was quietly killed.
So I think instead they're just gonna stick to AR, because they've been doing that with the 3DS, they've been doing that with Pokemon Go. For me, it would be insane for them not to work on something AR related with the Switch. It might even be a built-in feature, kind of like Street
Speaking
Pass
of Pokemon Switch, the software rumor is that there's gonna be a third version of Pokemon for the Switch, Pokemon Stars.
That's been basically rumored because of the namesake, and just because it's happened in the past, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
It happened with the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance, I believe.
Yeah.
Where they did that.
No, they didn't do that with Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance.
Was it Game Boy and Game Boy Color?
Game Boy and Game Boy Color was,
Yeah. Where they made one game, and I don't know about that. I just think that's let's go on to controls though. So there's lots of rumors about what's going to be in the Joy-Cons. I'm just going to kind of go over it all at once and then hear what you guys think, which is that the Joy-Cons have motion controls, that there's an IR in the right Joy-Con, and that there's a multi-touch capacitive touchscreen. So Mike, kick things off with us. Do you believe in any of these?
Most. If it doesn't have a multi-touch screen by now, there's a problem. 2017.
I was saying that about the Wii U, though.
Well, but this is as much an NVIDIA product as it seems like, as a Nintendo product. They seem to. Someone said on the forum, it seems like NVIDIA didn't know it, but they were designing for Nintendo all these years. Past the touchscreen, yes. Some sort of IR functionality, so that if you've got the thing docked, you want to, point at the screen and use it that way instead of a touch interface. That would make sense as well. The modular design, yeah. What else did you mention Bluetooth related? Was there something else in there that I missed?
No, just motion IR and multi-touch.
Yeah.
The thing that most excites me about Switch's controls is the modular nature. The idea that you can have specific controllers for specific genres of games even. Like, you could switch out the regular controllers for, like, I don't even know, like, GameCube style controls for Smash, or,
And I'm sure that's going to happen, and it's going to be in limited supply. And you have to use websites to track when a store has them in stock. And then you're going to get used to the regular control scheme and never get it, like I did with Smash on the Wii
U. I mean, that's kind of intriguing to me. Like, what they can do, they literally can come up with endless controller accessories for the Switch, and that's kind of like a really neat feature of the system. I think that's a neat feature of the system that people overlook. So, like, people just don't think about that too much, and I think, yeah, that could work.
Well, that's the thing with the modular design, is that even if it doesn't have, like, motion controls or IR on the controllers, doesn't mean it can't at some later point, It's, if it was self-contained like the gamepad is, then they'd have to replace the whole gamepad, but with the modular design, they could literally just, here's the Joy-Con Plus.
Right, exactly.
Do you think that runs any risk, though, for them if they're doing this huge reveal and they say, well, I was going to bring this up with the VR thing, like, oh, by the way, it does VR too, and it does motion controls, and it does a touchscreen. It does all these things. Does that sort of muddle the message of what the Switch is? It's very clear what it is. It's a console you take with you. That's what they showed us in the commercial, and they hammered that home.
I think they're going to quietly announce some of the other stuff. I think motion control, or not, motion control, touchscreen, all that kind of stuff is going to be really quietly mentioned. Like, they might not even mention it in the conference, but like they might in the treehouse the next day. Like, they're playing a game and they'll be using motion, and they'll mention that or something.
I can see that.
Alex, do you have any thoughts?
As the sort of thing that you kind of just show, like, shortly and then let people kind of figure out on their own. There's no need for them to make, a huge announcement about it. Like, there's no sense in them announcing that the right Joy-Con has an IR sensor the way that they did back with the Wii, because it's not the selling point anymore. It's not even a big deal at all anymore. So,
no.
But yeah, is it possible that system's going to have all these things? Yeah, I think so.
I don't think Nintendo's going to make a big deal about half that shit. It's going to have a touchscreen. It's going to have an IR pointer. Those features are probably not even barely going to be mentioned. They're going to be like footnotes. It's not something to, like, shout from the rooftops. This has a touchscreen. I think people already intuitively figured that out.
I think
it also leads to developers ignoring these features. Like, the right Joy-Con might have an IR sensor, but I'm really not sure that we're going to get...
Developers will ignore features they want to ignore no matter what. It really does,
I think they'll talk to developers about it, but what they're going to do is they're going to be like, at the public-facing event, they're going to be kind of vague about it. And then at Treehouse, you're going to see them playing them that way.
Right.
You're going to see them using a motion controller. You're going to see them using the touchscreen or doing things like that. You're just going to see them actually doing it. And then it'll, but the actual main press event, I think they're going to downplay it. I think at the most, maybe if they show like Mario Maker, then they'll show how, touchscreen works on it. Something like that. But I think for the most part, they're going to downplay it. And I think it's smart of them to downplay it because, as Mike said, it could muddy up the perception of what the system is if they show too much.
Right. They have to stay on point with the messaging. They can't start going all over the place. They've been excellent at that. They need to keep that up.
So the consensus is, yes, it's going to have all this stuff. No, they're not going to dwell on it.
Right.
I think it's going to have all of it. At first, I would have doubted maybe the IR, but now I'm starting to come around to it. I think mostly because it seems a little bit janky, that makes me think that they will do it.
Do one strange thing on it.
Gotta have some jank in there.
Yeah. So my next section we already pretty much covered, which was voice chat and friend codes.
Yeah. Well, thank God we covered that. That's a boring subject. Next.
Developer list, instead of going over the whole thing, I thought, are there any kind of like names or things on the developer list that really grab you? That you're like, oh, this is cool on the developers list?
Bethesda, I mean, that was a shock, right? Who saw that coming? Other than that, not really. Most of the usual suspects are there. I don't think there's too many. From Software was another surprise, actually. I was kind of surprised to see From Software's name on that list. I think that's the first time that company's name appeared on Nintendo developer list, as well as Bethesda.
But later on, we got the rumors about Dark Souls 3.
Yeah. The Laura Kate Dale and Emily Rogers are saying they're porting Dark Souls 3 to Switch, and if that's successful, they'll go back and backport Dark Souls 1 and 2, which would be fantastic. I would love to have Dark Souls on the Switch.
It's really a shame that a lot of people missed out on those games this past generation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, especially Nintendo fans, I feel like those are the kind of games that appeal specifically to Nintendo fans. They are Nintendo hard. They got like Nintendo kind of exploration.
Yeah.
They really should have been on Nintendo to begin with.
Yeah, right. Nintendo. I mean, you talk about hard. If anybody who's beat Ninja Gaiden on the NES, anybody,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, there you go. There you
the thing
go.
is that this game isn't even that bad. Like Dark Souls gets a lot of.
I mean,
ridiculously hard.
I mean, people
it's really
talk.
just Nintendo hard.
Yeah, people talk about hard games, but
I mean, really, it's like if you beat Zelda,
Tecmo expected
you're good to go.
Tecmo expected 8-year-olds to beat Ninja Gaiden. So, well on that.
What did Capcom expect for Ghouls and Ghosts?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you were a kid in the NES era, you were expected to get good. There was no coddling you just because you were 7.
So, like a lot of those people that played, games on the NES or even the SNES, they would be completely comfortable playing Dark Souls. It's like
right, exactly.
I think I see two categories amongst the list of developers that I kind of see as a little bit interesting. On one side, it's all the stuff that you'd normally see for 3DS, which is there's still a part of me that's like, is Nintendo going to blow this and still try to keep handhelds and, consoles separate, even though they have this hybrid system? But the one thing that kind of makes me feel a bit more at ease is when I see names on here, like Arc System Works and Atlas and, Square Enix, Sega, and that kind of gives me a little bit more hope. Well, Sega would be on there anyways. They're gonna make a Sonic game that's gonna be on a Nintendo system.
Well, they already announced Sonic, the new Sonic game.
Yeah.
That's been announced by Sega. Not Sonic Mania, of course, but the new 3D Sonic game has been. Sonic Mania, for some reason, is not announced for Switch at all. Sega should really get that on Switch as soon as possible. I think it's
I'm sure it will.
I think it's inexcusable that that's not a Switch game, to be honest.
I just think it's just not announced for it yet. That's all it is.
Okay, well, it better be soon.
But the other category I see is stuff like Grasshopper Manufacturer and Nipponichi, who make up the developers that I'm like, oh, please bring back the stuff we love. Please bring us No More Heroes 3. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, you pretty well hit the stuff I was going to think of, especially Grasshopper. Give me No More Heroes 3. I need it. I need that in my life. But seeing Atlas on there, we're going to get some sort of Shin Megami Tensei game. Koei Tecmo, there's more collaborative stuff there. I think I'm not thinking we're going to see necessarily whatever the next multi-plat Ninja Gaiden game is, but something bespoke for the Switch. That's like with Ubisoft. That could be a genuine partnership that gives you something to hang your hat on there. Take-Two being on there is interesting. We know GTA is not coming, but the 2K Sports stuff.
Yeah, the 2K. Yeah, they showed off the 2K basketball.
Yeah, and that's not something anyone necessarily buys every year, but everyone wants to buy Prompt 1 of those.
Well, I think sports games being on a console is important, even though I don't play those. I don't get excited by them, but casual gamers definitely, even some hardcore gamers, who are into sports, they buy those games. It's important to have those games on the platform. So yeah, so it's good to see that.
Those are the big sellers.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that those are the big sellers. Like sports games are usually what sell. Your super hardcore PS4 usually rests on Madden, FIFA, whatever.
It's one of the oldest scams in video games too, because you could basically resell the same game every year.
Yeah.
It's one of the old ones.
Do with Madden. The last developer, the big one, Platinum, for me. I want to see what Platinum does, especially now that we've heard Scalebound's done for it.
Yeah, now that Scalebound's canceled, they can really take that. They can really take those development resources, put them onto whatever Switch project they have, and I think they can come up with something special for the Switch. Microsoft's loss is Switch's gain, in my opinion. I can't wait to see
that was Kamiya's personal project, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, which is a shame. It never looked good to me, which is rare for me to say for something coming from Kamiya, but that man has done so much good. I was willing to give him a pass on just about anything.
That they're gonna get to work on it though, because they did say they announced that Platinum stopped working on it sometime last year, and it took them until now to announce that it was canceled. Microsoft,
right?
So it's because Microsoft was working on it and basically funding it. That they.
I'm not saying Scalebound's coming to Switch. I don't think that's happening. I actually don't want them to just turn around and port Scalebound to the Switch. I want something different from Platinum.
From scratch.
I want maybe a wonderful 102. Can we do that?
Bayonetta 3.
They are for sure working on something else.
I actually don't really want Bayonetta 3 right away. That they can save that for later. Vanquish 2, but that's Shinji Mikami. Yeah, so I don't think that will ever happen.
Probably, yeah. We've had that discussion so many times on the forum. Like that's probably just caught up in IP right hell.
Yeah.
Straight Story, which I don't even know. Straight Story folded something else after the Platinum deal fell through, and he left. But yeah, I said that inelegantly when I was going at that. I don't think that Scalebound would be making its way to Switch or something like that. That IP is probably owned by Microsoft, but that whoever's working on it, getting that on a Switch project, if Nintendo can swing that, Platinum looks at them and says, "Hey, we've got 30 or 40 guys are just looking for some work now. Bring all those people in here.
Bring all those people into here." And I swear, Platinum's going to make an amazing Switch exclusive, and Microsoft's not going to have any amazing Platinum exclusives, which makes Xbox an inferior console. Sorry, Xbox fans.
Well, that's the thing about Microsoft.
But don't worry. Don't worry. You have Halo Wars. It's all good. That's what Microsoft says.
Now with PS4, that with them not being the dominant player on the multi-plat front, like they were with 360 and PS3.
Yeah.
Well, like that was the one advantage they had, and they seem woefully inadequately prepared for what's playing the other side of the game, which Sony has been doing for a while.
Right, their first party game. They got to realize the game is having the best first party lineup now if you want people to buy your system, because multiplats don't matter. Multiplats are the games that people expect to be on your system anyway. If you don't
matter if it's like a significant difference in quality, and like the early days of the PS3 and the 360, a lot of the PS3 multiplats were pretty shit. They were like.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it only matters if if they're in a situation now between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One where most multiplats run the same on both systems, pretty much. I know
better on the PS4, which is even worse.
Or better on the PS4. So it's like cool, you have those games, but PlayStation 4 has those games and exclusive games that I really want to play a lot more than Halo Wars. So
and then we have Nintendo on the other side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
All exclusive.
Nintendo has the first party games I love that I die to play, but you have to buy a second console. With Nintendo says buy our console for Mario and Zelda, but you're really going to need to buy a PS4 and Xbox One in addition. I'm sorry. We're sorry. We just don't have those games. So it's the opposite problem with Nintendo as with Microsoft. Microsoft has has amazing third-party support, but their first-party is lackluster to non-existent, whereas Nintendo has amazing first-party and no third-party.
So now let's talk about expectations. So we're going to start off with what we want within reason. So I'm going to go by category here.
Metroid.
No, within reason, performance. What are you expecting?
Oh, okay. So performance, I'm expecting better than Wii U performance. Better than Wii U performance, weaker than Xbox One or PS4 performance. So somewhere in between.
Alex?
What are my expectations for the performance?
What do you want? So, like, within reason.
Oh, what?
I mean, as long as it, I think what targeting specifically is Breath of the Wild. If you can run that, but 1080p 60 frames. And,
if you can run that.
Good NTL, yes. That's what I need.
Run that 4K. What I want, specs that
within reason. Within reason.
Scorpio out of the water, like
Mike, performance within reason.
Within reason, if we're looking at benchmarks of where the consoles stand presently, we have, the Wii U sort of slots, okay, here's your PS3 on one side, and there's, the Xbox One on the other between the two generations. Wii U's in the middle further towards the PS3 edge of that scale. Switch, I just want to be a couple of notches above Wii U, closer to Xbox One, but it's not going to be that close. There's going to be a chasm power. But as long as the feature set is modern, it supports the engines it needs to, that's all I want.
Okay, I'm going to stick with you, Mike. Battery life. What do you want within reason? What's the number that you're like, I feel this is reasonable and I want this? 4
hours. To me, that's reasonable. That gives you one really long marathon of gaming. At least it is for me, where it lets you turn it on and off, play a couple of times during the day. Anything below that, I think, can be problematic for some people. 4, I think, is a good right there, sort of in between a full day of work and a marathon of gaming. So to me, that's where I'd want it. 4 hours.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Mike's answer. 4 is good. 4 is like as much as I will ever need. Most of the time, I would probably do with less, just because I play mostly in my home. And if I'm traveling, I'm not gonna play for like 3 hours even.
I'm gonna say since I'm in the with want range, I'm gonna go up to 5 here and say I'd like to see it get that 5 mark, just a solid number.
Didn't even ask me.
I have not done yet. Now it's your turn, Will.
I agree with Tyson. 5. I'm glad Tyson said 5 hours because that's the number I had in my head this whole time. 4 hours is great. I just really feel like I'd probably want that extra hour of gaming before I decide I am done.
You want that tantric battery life.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Will, while I'm with you, launch lineup. What is it that you want within reason as at your launch?
What I want within reason, well, if I'm believing the rumors and taking that to be reasonable, Zelda Breath of the Wild, of course. If that's not there, then what the fuck, Nintendo? Like literally. Zelda Breath of the Wild, Splatoon, and Mario. If Nintendo can make that trio for launch, and I don't see why not, that would be pretty amazing.
I'll give you 2 more. You got 2 more?
Skyrim and I guess the rumored Mario Rabbids RPG. Though that's probably supposed to be a launch game according to rumors. So yeah, if that's the launch, then great. That's fantastic launch.
Alex?
So mine would be of course Zelda, Mario. It's nice, and Splatoon. But then on top of that, I'm gonna put in some Monster Hunter. There would have to be some Monster Hunter.
Some Monster. Yeah, it's Monster Hunter.
Just those 4 I'm good with. Those
Japan
4
won
for a whole year.
Japan won.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
We're gonna sound like a broken record because I'm right in line with that pretty much. Breath of the Wild is, of course, their day one. Monster Hunter, I really think we need something. If it's not gonna be Monster Hunter 5, give us Cross, give us some sort of upgraded HD version of it. That needs to be there on day one, as far as I'm concerned. I want a Monster Hunter. I want a game co-developed with Platinum again. I don't think that's too hard of an ask at this point. That's a great relationship. I think that should totally be something that has been in the pipeline by now. New Metroid is a pipe dream, I know, but I want it. I think I'm on 4, and
I would,
a retro game that is not Donkey Kong. I think I know I talk bad about retro sometimes. I know they lost a lot of talent. Big deal when you lose your chief designer, your chief art director, and the big guy who does.
I would talk.
I think it's. I want it from them besides Donkey Kong.
I would talk bad about retro if they ever skipped a beat in terms of quality games, but they haven't. It's been their quality game wise has been consistent up to the last Donkey Kong game. So
I will totally not talk bad about the quality of the games. It's just that the developer that existed in the past does not exist presently. All developers change and shift over time. Retro is not the same developer they were. Nobody is, and anyone that expects, we're just expecting Metroid Prime again. We want something that wows us and knocks our jaw on the floor. Well, that almost never happens. That was a that could have been a one-time only thing. That's the only thing I bring up retro. They lost a lot of crucial people, and they just had some magic there.
Well,
it was chaotic, it was ridiculous, but it worked.
Well, back in the early retro days, Nintendo actually had to whip that studio into shape because they were had no freaking clue what they were even doing. Apparently,
they laid off like half the staff, didn't they?
Apparently they made several game demos and prototypes show off the Nintendo, and apparently they were all terrible, including.
They used to have 5 games in development at once,
including Metroid. Metroid was apparently abysmal, and that caused Miyamoto to personally visit Retro, and Nintendo basically forced them to cancel all their projects, focus solely on Metroid, and they whipped that game into shape, and they made it the best game on the GameCube, which is impressive.
They also canceled the only GameCube, or the first GameCube game we ever saw was a Retro game that had leaked to IGN and got canceled in that rush to push all resources to Metroid, which was that car combat game they had.
Oh yeah, the car combat game they had. And then the president of Retro, Jeff Spangenberg or something.
Jeff Spangenberg. Yeah, his head was on the table. So yeah, I know it was a chaotic environment there, but that's part of the thing with it could have been a once in a lifetime thing for that game. There's not been a game I think that's quite been Prime-ish since.
No, I don't think so. Even the sequels I think fell short of the original in some ways. So it was definitely one of those once in a lifetime things where magic just happened. But it's
an unfair benchmark. I know it's an unfair benchmark.
It's an unfair benchmark. I think I do want to see more Metroid in some form. I don't even care if it's like a 2D Metroid done by Intelligent Systems. That would still be amazing. I would love to have it. I would have mentioned that, but Tyson said within reason, and that really limits my imagination, Tyson. Thank you for that.
Being unreasonable. I would want a Metroid at launch. They've had a heck of a long time to make another one, so. But that's what I want within reason.
Here's what I want within reason. Some of this is repeat territory, so 3D Mario, Zelda, Mario Kart Switch is a big one for me. I think more than anybody here, I loved Mario Kart 8. I still play that
Mario Kart 8 is great.
I say Mario Kart Switch because I want it to be, I don't have illusions it's going to be a completely new Mario Kart game, but I want it to be enough different that it's retitled. I like what we saw in the trailer. If that's the new Mario Kart 8 where you can switch items and stuff like that, if they maybe took out the battle mode and put in a real battle mode, maybe something akin to that. What was that mode called in the DS version where you it had boss fights and stuff? Something like that would be awesome. But that's kind of one of my big hopes is that they really do Mario Kart right on a reboot for that. And my two kind of somewhat unreasonable ones are Dragon Quest XI, which I say because that game's supposed to come out in March in Japan.
It's not going to be Switch launch. No way in hell is that going to be a launch title for Switch.
They said March in Japan though to meet the anniversary.
Yeah, for the PS4 and 3DS versions that they're developing, but no way Switch version is going to be there for that.
I don't know. I'm still that's my one of my long shots. My other long shot, Persona 5.
That Persona 5 is not happening on Switch. Atlas categorically denied it. So I
don't believe anybody that denies.
So your long shot is officially a not shot. So it's not even a long shot. It's been categorically denied by Atlas that that's ever happening.
Hey, so was Xenoblade.
Right.
Yeah, but that was just
words.
yeah, but that was just Reggie being a dick. Come on.
So Reggie being Reggie, yes.
Yeah, Reggie being Reggie. Yeah.
So I'm going to kick off the next category.
And even when Nintendo did give in and release Xenoblade, they kind of were assholes about it and made it GameStop exclusive.
Wouldn't even mind so long as I got it.
Right? No, I didn't mind. I was happy, but it was like it's like they did it. It's like they did it, but like they did it under duress, and they weren't happy to be having to do it.
Yeah.
If they said
the whole time,
Persona 5's coming to the Switch, but only as a digital game and only if you hop on your foot for 10 minutes, I would still do it.
There you go, Atlas. You can completely manipulate Tyson Gifford with promises of Persona 5 on Switch. Take this opportunity.
Please think of better blackmail.
Think of better blackmail.
I'm going to go on to the next category on here, which is price. Again, this is under what you want within reason. I'm going to go on the low end. I think a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy for saying, which is $200 or $250 with a pack-in. Remember that the Shield tablet is $200.
But this is a little bit more involved than a Shield tablet because it's got a dock for TV. It's got controllers.
It's also a smaller screen. It's also a smaller screen, a lower resolution screen.
Yeah,
and a thicker device, which means everything has to be less.
Nintendo's not going to do 200 because that prices it the same price as their new 3DS, and so that gives up. It's tricky because if they price it at that price, then people are going to say, well, a new 3DS costs 200, so is this any better than a new 3DS?
Which I think if they did that, they just dropped the price of the new 3DS.
At the same time, they can't price it too high, so they got to be like, so they got to come up with a price point that advertises value. I think $250 is that sweet spot right now.
But with a pack-in or without?
Without a pack-in, I don't even know if they're going to do a pack-in, to be honest. They might do a pack-in. They did a pack-in for Nintendo Land. I don't know. I kind of hope they don't do 2 SKUs. I know that's popular, but
they could just do 1 SKU, but with a pack-in.
I don't know, $250 without a pack-in. That's what I'm guessing. There might be a $300 SKU with a pack-in, but that's what I'm expecting.
Mike?
I'm with you. I'm $199. I know everyone's going to say that sounds too low, but when you see 249 SKUs of PS4 out there, I mean, I don't care if Nintendo takes a loss and launch this time out. I mean, you take the loss. They need this device in people's hands and in living rooms, and to do that, you got to be aggressive. If you launch too high, that simply means you're going to have to cut the price faster and to a large degree, just like they did with the 3DS, because this is not necessarily a Hail Mary, but they've got a lot of chips on this. So this has to get out there. It's got to be competitive. It's got to be aggressive.
Well, you also make a point that Nintendo did launch the 3DS at $250, and it started to bomb at that price. So is Nintendo going to do that again? All signs point to yes right now. All signs are heavily pointing to yes to a $250 price.
Pointing that way, this is what I want.
This is still within reason what we want, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are going to go over what we expect.
I'm on $199. I know that's
okay.
Low.
So if we're going with basically what we want, then $199. I'm on that trade.
Yes, that's right, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I will always want the cheaper one.
Obviously, cheap ass. I mean, if $5 was realistic, I'd be on the $5 train.
Alex is all $199 sounds good to me, but I'd be okay if they paid me more too.
Yeah.
If they paid me to play test it or something, that'd be cool too.
Exactly.
But I'm not sure though. that they'll do that.
Well, I'm not sure they'll do that. I don't think that price is happening. But if we're talking about what I want, then absolutely, I'll save $50. But I will spend the extra $50. I mean, I'm that hyped for it. But I will even spend $300. I'm that crazy.
Yeah,
but,
I'm ready to put down $300 on it.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. Yeah, if they shave off that, I'm gonna put it into games.
So let's segue that right into what you expect. So starting on performance again, what are you expecting? I gotta say, for me, I'm expecting basically Wii U with better shaders, slightly better performance.
Well, yeah, I'm expecting
as far as frame rate and stuff. I mean,
well, I'm expecting Wii U with modern game engines. That's pretty much it.
Alex,
in terms of what I expect, I don't know. I was convinced by what Goodwin posted on the forums. I guess he had this very long post, but his practical end at it was, it's basically going to be closer to PS4 than many people think. And I'm like, okay,
I hope so.
Cool
I hope so.
And that's, I don't really have any expectations of my own. I'm just going off of his guess.
Right. I'm not part of the hate train that, every bit of power rumors comes out for the Switch and people are like raging that Nintendo is horrible and Switch pre-order can't and I say pre-order canceled. You didn't have a fucking pre-order. They don't exist. Shut up. So don't say your pre-order's canceled. You're an idiot.
Mike, what are you expecting from performance?
The expectation is pretty much what I want within reason. I think Wii U Plus. Just a couple notches above Wii U. I just never thought Nintendo would be launching something as powerful as the competition. I don't think they can with the form factor they have right now.
Exactly. It's a portable form factor. There's a reason there's not a PS4 portable. I
will say that they could, but it would be like $10,000.
Yeah, exactly.
It would run unicorn tiers, and they would have an hour and a half battery life, and you have to recharge.
People's expectations are so out of whack. You see people like upset that this isn't going to outclass the PS4 Pro, and I'm like, it's a portable game system.
Again, you could, but it would cost $10,000, and you would get tumors in your hands.
Right, and the battery life would be like 12 minutes. So there is a if you want to see like a top of the line portable gaming machine, there is like an Asus, I think Vengeance or something. It's like 23 inches, has two GTX 1080s in it, has two power supplies, is bigger than you. Like literally it's the worst thing you've ever seen, but hey, you have a top of the line beast of a PC in a laptop form factor. Congrats. It's the most ridiculous.
It's the computer version of a concept car.
Oh, it's $9,000. By the way, its official retail price is $9,000. So that's what people want the Switch to be. People are stupid.
So sticking with you, Mike, battery life, what is your expectation?
Pretty much exactly what the Wii U gamepad gets. That's my expectation. They're going to get up to around like 3 hours.
Oh my God.
And, hey, that'll be just, that's because Nintendo, there's got to be compromises made somewhere. They got to hit a certain price point. They're going to cut everything they can. I can see that.
You think we're going to open up the back and see a giant space around the battery like it did with the Wii U?
Yeah, it's going to have foam in there. It's just, it's...
if it's Wii U gamepad battery life, I will throw the thing against the wall. I don't care.
I highly recommend that. Well, yeah, that's
just buy like an anchor charger and just like super glue it to the back.
Get freaking one of those Nyko accessories. Holy shit. It's like, really? Fuck you, Nintendo. The battery life of the Wii U gamepad, like that freaking tiny battery that they decided to put in there with all that space, they put in this tiny battery that lasts like 1 hour. I think that was like the biggest fuck you Nintendo has ever done.
The worst is that you take off the back and you can see the space.
Yeah, it's like, wow, Nintendo.
There's a lot of FUs Nintendo has done over the years, so I don't know.
I don't know. That feels like one of the biggest ones because that really hurts your enjoyment of like the actual console. It's like when you get into a game,
very small battery.
Yeah, it's
Not
like
the size of the battery; it's how you use it.
So, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little more optimistic than Mike. I don't expect it to be that bad as the Wii U.
Look, historically, Nintendo, especially when it comes to their portable systems, Nintendo has been sensitive about battery life. That has been one of their primary concerns. One of the reasons the Game Boy was black and white was battery life, period. And we know this because Game Gear ate up batteries like there was no tomorrow. And Nintendo was just really sensitive about, okay, if we're making a portable system, it's got to have good battery life. So they skimped on a lot of features that people really loved to like razz the Game Boy about. People loved to like really dig into them for being a black and white system. But you could play it for hours without having to change the batteries. Then that was important to Nintendo. That philosophy has carried on through all their handhelds. I don't know where that philosophy went for the Wii U gamepad. Somebody else was in charge of that, apparently.
It wasn't there for the 3DS either, so.
Yeah, that's true. 3DS kind of had a little bad battery life.
People forget about that. The original 3DS also had like 2.5 hour battery life.
That's true. I don't know what's happening in that period.
And, 3D on, and what's the other thing? Like your weird Street Pass stuff.
Oh yeah.
Everything turned on. It was like less than 3 hours.
I think what happened with the 3DS was Nintendo really got too into cramming all these features into it and really forgot about the effect on battery life all these different features had. I don't know. That was such a weird period for Nintendo. But I would be shocked if battery life wasn't taken into consideration with the Switch. So I do expect a decent battery life, at least 5 hours, maybe 4. I'm not expecting another Wii gamepad or 3DS level disaster on that front.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's move on to launch lineup. So actually, wait, Alex, we didn't get your number. What was your number?
Just like, I guess 2. Is that good?
That's what you expect?
I really don't care that much because for me, I'm gonna play
launch lineup. Didn't we just talk about launch lineup?
So, and also I'm gonna, if I travel, like I said, I'm never gonna have like more than 2 hours at a time. But about expecting it, I really don't see, I just don't know what to expect with Nintendo. I feel like that's a losing game, right? So if my guess is like between 2 and 3 hours, I think that's like as close as I can get.
Okay, so now we're moving on to launch lineup. So yes, Will, we did talk about launch lineup, but we're doing this in sections. So we did it with what we want within reason, and now we're on what we expect. So Alex, kick things off. What are you expecting the launch lineup to be? Not like what you want, but what you think it's going to be.
I mean, I haven't thought a lot about the list of third-party developers that we saw. So I guess if I just go off my one list, I would say Monster Hunter's probably not going to be there. Maybe Splatoon might. No, I think Splatoon will be there for sure on day one. Mario, I think Mario and Zelda are like maybe one is there, maybe one isn't, not both. That is what I expect and what I fear. But with that's the thing with Nintendo. What you expect and what you fear are usually the same thing. So, that's what I'm guessing, right? Those things, and from third parties. I don't know that I expect anything besides what they showed us, Skyrim and NBA, whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of, I'm looking at it as I'm thinking Zelda, Mario Kart, a casual party game that we haven't heard of, and then like some ports, like maybe last generation's Assassin's Creed or Skyrim, something like that. But that's kind of like my current expectation, I think. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, Mike?
Oops, sorry. I somehow hit my mute button there. Sorry about that. I'm thinking remasters for days. I'm focusing on Nintendo more than third parties because to me it's a Nintendo box. So I think Splatoon, Smash, and Kart, you get those. You might get XCX or SMT Sharp Fire Emblem.
You think it launched for those?
Maybe. I think they throw one RB.
Wow.
I think they might throw XCX out there. I mean, it's
Mike is going to be disappointed.
I probably will, but I expect them to throw out some sort of remaster launch lineup. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, because I think Alex had a point about Mario sort of being later in the year. I could see that being the holiday game, because if you launch with Breath of the Wild, I mean, everything else is sort of in the shadow. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see this presentation only new first-party game that'll be there on day one is Breath of the Wild, and I'm honestly fine with that considering what we saw at E3. So that's good by me.
Will.
Realistically, probably Zelda, Splatoon from Nintendo, Skyrim from Bethesda, Just Dance from Ubisoft. That's about what I imagine. I don't know. Probably some other games from some other tripe from whoever, maybe Carnival.
Some other games we've already played.
Yeah, some other games we already played. If I had to guess, probably that. It's gonna turn out to be Zelda launch, and everything else was irrelevant unless you really wanted to play Skyrim again, which I don't mind. I'll play Skyrim a second time on Switch. That sounds awesome. But, or Splatoon. So typical mediocre console launch lineup, really. That's just really anchored by one outstanding title and then a couple decent ports, and then the rest forgettable.
So sticking with you, what are you thinking on price? I think you eventually came down to 200 for your want within reason on the price.
Yeah, want within reason.
What's your expected? What do you think it's going to be?
My expected is 250. Nikkei pretty much confirmed this, although it was still speculation on their part, but I think Nikkei speculation is different from our speculation.
I don't remember what it was about, but I think like last year or the year before they had a big one that they were wrong about.
Which one was that? The Android?
I can't remember what it was. There was something that they reported on at Nikkei that turned out to be completely wrong.
They said Switch was running on some version of Android, which Iwata denied, but we still don't know what the OS of the Switch is. So
no, there was something. There was something that actually like came out. Like they said, like this game is going to come out or something, or be announced, and it wasn't, and it never has been.
Oh well, I mean,
I can't remember what it was, but Nikkei's not invulnerable to.
Well, see, you gotta be sensitive with that stuff too. When people have sources and they leak stuff like that, like games can always be canceled behind the scenes.
Yeah,
it's possible that was true at one point and then became untrue by nature. Like if Microsoft never announced Scalebound just now, and we had a bunch of leakers saying Platinum's making some big game for Xbox One, you just wait for Platinum's game, it's gonna be amazing, and then it never happens because Microsoft canceled it like they just did. If that game was never public knowledge, you would say all those leakers were full of shit and that they were just bullshitting you about Platinum on Xbox.
And we at Nintendo Enthusiast have some experience with that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's fair to say people aren't credible based on that, just because that shit happens. But that's also probably why you shouldn't go around leaking rumors like that either. So
I'm gonna say for price, I'm thinking what I expect. I'm thinking 300. It's a huge difference from what I want within reason, but it's what I'm expecting. 300 right on the nose, $299.99. Maybe 350 with a pack in, but I doubt it. Just $300 by itself.
And I think the system is kind of dead in the water. That's like Alex said, sometimes with Nintendo, it's what you expect is what you fear. Yeah.
So Alex, what do you think? What's your expected price point?
I think it'll be like $279.
Whoa.
One of those kind of like off price points.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
They've done that before though with their handhelds and.
Yep, they have. That's why I'm choosing that one.
Nice.
That's what I expect. Because, I don't think I expect 300. Not
Mike?
maybe the packet.
Oh, sorry.
But
Mike?
270 for sure.
Well, before answering, what packet are you expecting, Alex? What game do you think they'll put in the box? Zelda or Splatoon?
Splatoon.
It was rumored, and it's a good new competitive. I mean,
they're not gonna pack in Zelda. They want everybody to spend the full $60 on that game,
as they should.
Yes.
But yeah, for what I expect, I want to say $249, but I'm kind of with Alex on the odd pricing angle here. I could see them going lower than that, maybe like $229 or something like that.
Now only $215.
I could see them doing it, but $249 probably seems like the logical point. I mean, it worked for the Wii, so we'll see.
You're supposed to bet $1 above, not below.
Yeah. That's why Matt is going to lose the Price is Right. Don't put him on the Price is Right.
And now on to, we can get a little bit funny here with what we fear. So I'm going to say with performance, what I fear is a Wii U with heavy frame rate stutters. Well,
Yeah.
the triumphant return of the Pets franchise from Ubisoft.
What are you expecting performance-wise, though? What's your fear of the performance level?
My fear that it's going to be worse than Wii U. We're going back to the Wii, folks. Guess what?
SD resolutions and
Jesus, I hate some websites and they're auto playing fucking files. Like fuck you. Okay. It's like we're going back to the NES.
The NES Classic sold really well, so we've decided to redesign the Switch.
We just put the guts of an NES Classic in it. So, hardware wise, I guess my biggest fear is that it won't actually run modern games to any real playable level, and that we'll just be stuck with stuff that could run on Wii U, and that would suck.
Mike?
What I fear performance-wise, literally just Wii U power with them clutching Unreal Engine 4 into it somehow.
Yeah.
Just somehow getting it in there, pretty much saying, hey guys, we've got enough bedroom, we don't need anything more than what we're going to do. Again, this is not much of a fear for me, because I really don't care about playing so many other third-party games. There's going to be a lot of good first-party games. So I'd honestly be perfectly fine with that, but for the health of console, for getting other games on there, for having a more well-rounded library, yeah, that would be it.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm right where Mike is. Like, I think at that point where it's just a Wii U that manages to run, Unreal Engine 4, that's where I turn into one of those people online that say, oh, but what about the third-party support? So that is the point here.
That's the Rubicon.
Yeah.
So sticking with you, Alex, battery life, what's your fear?
That is like Mike said, and it's like an hour or an hour and a half. Yeah. If it's Wii U level, I don't want that.
Mike?
Because I'm actually going to want to take it portable, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my battery life here would be, under Wii U. I mean, this is not a 3DS, but maybe they just throw a 3DS battery in it, That's the fear, that they go like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And just say, hey, it's powerful enough. This is the corollary, I guess. If you get the console power you want, then it's just not going to last very long as a handheld.
It's one of those pick three options, pick two kind of situations.
It's your Monty Hall door problem there. And you're going to be disappointed if you switch that up. But yeah, let's say under 2.5 hours here for battery life.
All right, my fear on battery life is that it's going to be pushing it at 2. Like you're going to be coming up to 2 hours and you're going to see the red light flashing.
That hurts.
That's my fear, is I could sit down and play while watching a movie and it starts flashing before the movie's over. Will, what about you?
About what? I'm sorry.
For battery life, what's your fear?
Oh, geez, 1 hour of Wii U gamepad battery life. I think I made that clear throughout the course of this podcast.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to reiterate it any further.
Then next up is launch lineup for under what we fear. I'm going to say a casual game, Mario Kart 8 completely unchanged, and 3 late ports. That's my fear of the launch lineup. That's kind of the Wii U launch lineup in many ways.
Let's see. Like I said, Carnival games. Live and Maddie, for Switch.
Just Dance or
Just Dance. Zelda has been canceled. And Zelda has been canceled, but don't worry, we have a free-to-play Tingle game in its place.
And it's iOS exclusive.
And Silent Hills was announced for Switch and then canceled all over again because fuck Konami.
Over the course of the one conference.
Exactly, yes. Just to rub the salt in that wound. Yeah, that's the worst case scenario.
So Mike, what's your nightmare launch lineup?
Nintendo Land 2.
Wii
Which
Music
is funny because like I absolutely loved Nintendo Land.
I don't think it gets, if that's like a marquee launch lineup game, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
Same with like another like new Super Mario Brothers game.
Oh geez, yeah, that was
cool game in its own right, but if that's on your launch lineup, that's a problem.
Well, then yeah, Wii U was a problem because that literally Nintendo Land and new Super Mario Brothers. So, so you're just describing the Wii U launch lineup as the worst case scenario launch lineup.
It really was.
With some variations, because like maybe like Mario Maker, if that's like again, if we're looking at the Wii, like the Switch like launch, and we're saying, oh, what we fear, like if Mario Maker is the highlight, that's a problem. If Mario Party is the highlight, that's a problem.
That's a
And
problem.
if they really want to like pour salt in my eye, they're gonna give me another Donkey Kong made by Retro. That's my 5. Go for it, Alex.
Yeah, no, my fear is that, neither Zelda nor Mario make it to launch, or Monster Hunter. I mean, I just don't expect Monster Hunter, but I'm afraid that...
Okay, well, I hope you don't have your heart set on Monster Hunter, because you will be disappointed.
No, if it's coming like within a year.
At best.
And probably not 5, but...
Hopefully not 5. Jesus, that better be some Monster Hunter.
What?
I said hopefully not 5 years. I said hopefully not.
I know, he meant Monster Hunter 5.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like an inside topic. We've talked about this very often, where we don't know if the next Monster Hunter we're going to get is going to be, like XX HD or it's going to be 5.
Yeah, because Capcom Street Fighter that franchise.
Yeah. But I'm just worried that they're not going to do Zelda or Mario, in which case all I've got to play is Splatoon at launch.
So Alex, what's your nightmare scenario price point?
$350 with the pack-in. That's pretty scary.
$350 with the pack-in?
Yeah, that's nightmare. That's dead on arrival.
I'm afraid mostly because I
point.
will pay it. I will be like, okay.
Yeah, me too. I'll be like, oh, this sucks, but yeah, okay. Nobody else is going to buy this thing, though.
Play it, and when you buy it, it gets you a free membership to a support group.
Yeah.
Nintendo
Enthusiast.
Yeah. Nintendo Enthusiast. No, Nintendo Addicted. At that point.
So Will, you're kind of saying around the same $350?
Yeah, I am.
Mike?
I'll go lower, $299. I don't think it should be that high. It's probably gonna, but I don't think it should be that high. That's when you're pricing it above, what's already out there.
How about if you really want to go nightmare? How about just $500? Let's just price it the original price of the Xbox One.
That brings me to mine, which is $599 US.
And Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
Ridge Racer. Well, I mean, if it has Ridge Racer, then that $599 is justified.
But you can hit the weak point for maximum damage.
Yeah.
God, I'm old.
Yeah.
Hi, so we're past that now. Let's go over. I have a few questions for you all. So first up, what was the coolest feature of the Switch that's been revealed so far? Let's start with Will.
Coolest feature, the fact that it's a portable and I can play Zelda Breath of the Wild on the toilet. Fuck yeah.
Alex.
The portable local multiplayer. You take off the Joy-Cons and then you're immediately playing multiplayer with someone. That's
Mike.
cool.
Modular controller design, just being able to have split controllers, a grip, something else. I mean, that's just neat to me. I'm down with that.
Pretty much on you guys at the most part for there. I'm just gonna say the hybrid functionality in general. 2, what are you most curious about now? Like what is the thing that you are most curious about with the conference coming up, Mike?
This is a stupid, wonky one, but I'm going to go with this is a dumb point, I know, but playing the Joy-Con sideways, this little, what look to be hidden shoulder buttons, I'm just intrigued by those things. I want to see them in action. I got to know.
What is hidden in that groove?
I got to know what's hidden here. And do they have the mystical, rotary button sort of thing? I got to know. That's what I'm curious about.
That's the game-changing secret of the Switch.
It's the
So, Will, what do you think?
I just want to know what the launch lineup is going to. I want to know what I'm actually going to be playing day one on the Switch. That's what I most care about above anything else. I think most of the stuff about the Switch that's unknown is stuff that either I don't really care about or I can easily guess is real, like a touchscreen. Sure, touchscreen hasn't been confirmed, but I think you can infer that exists. And same with like the Joy-Cons, if it has extra buttons that we don't know about, cool. If it has an IR pointer, cool. But I'm mainly concerned about what games I'm going to be buying and playing day one. If the launch lineup is going to meet expectations, exceed expectations, or just be shit. I have to know.
I agree with you. I'm going to say software, but I think it goes beyond launch lineup. I'm curious about, and I think they'll show like what's going to come, let's say before E3. What are we going to get in the launch window? What is the early life of the system going to look like? Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, launch window is cool, but I'm not going to be playing those games in March, so it's the further a game out is, the less excited I can be for it. It's like, yeah, but that's so far in the future.
Yeah,
Alex,
I already know the games that I'm gonna buy that I want, so I'm not have any curiosity for that anymore. I mostly want to see if they do any AR stuff. I don't think so much that I would use it, but I kind of have like a conversation going with Matt about how I think Nintendo's gonna be betting heavily on AR in the future. Like they see it as like
AR is a big growing field, so
yeah, there's money in it. They see it, they probably feel it. They've wanted to get into it for
Pokemon Go
now.
was
it's an AR game, and it just comes straight off what they try to do with the 3DS with the little AR cards.
With the AR cards, so it's possible.
So, I see that like, okay, I want to see if they're gonna keep on doing that.
That is an interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but that is an interesting point you do bring up about AR. It'll be interesting to see if Nintendo continues to explore that with the Switch.
Have any of you seen Project Tango?
No.
It's a project at Google. It's in one phone right now, but it basically adds a bunch of cameras and sensors to the phone, and it's like really advanced AR functionality. But you can see like videos of it being used. It's a Google thing, and it's one of the guys involved is the guy that did the whole head tracking thing for the Wii. Remember that?
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
The glasses with the LED lights on them and the Wiimote like on top of the TV.
Well, if Nintendo is going to do anything with AR, they're going to do it very cheaply with already existing cheaply made tech. Nintendo's not one to go balls out with, they're not going to be making a HoloLens anytime soon.
Well, Tango isn't really like super advanced. It's the plan for the alignment of all the cameras and the sensors that are already kind of there and to be used in a certain way to be like really advanced as far as the AR functionality goes. So there's already one phone that's using it. I think it's a Lenovo phone in China, but it's just kind of interesting. If you're interested in AR, you should check that out, Project Tango, because it's pretty accurate.
I'll definitely Google it. That does sound interesting. So,
next question up. Gonna stick with you, Alex. What feature of the Switch do you think is going undernoticed?
The fact that you get 2-for-1 controllers with the Joy-Con set, because that means you need half as many controllers to do multiplayer. Yeah,
the ability to slide off a second controller for somebody on the go.
Yeah, or like, if you want to play with your whole family, instead of buying 4, $50 Xbox controllers, you're going to buy 2 sets of Joy-Cons. They might even be cheaper than an Xbox controller each.
That's good.
That's significant.
Mike.
Somewhat related to that, it's about the controllers. It's being able to sort of take your living room with you. I think this is an underrated thing that's being sort of looked over. Well, everything's being undernoticed because all anyone wants to talk about right now is the console's power, which we've established who really cares that much about. But it's sort of, a sort of potential smartphone almost revolution sort of thing with this. Of okay, gaming has lived either in your living room or it's lived in cramped space in your pocket where it is somewhat compromised. And this is saying, no, this is not how it's going to work. We're cleaving that in half. That's not how it's going to be anymore. That's the dichotomy shift for gaming itself, for how the industry has worked. So I think that could be kind of a big deal. It gets gaming out of your basement. It gets it out of your living room. It takes it, to the beach with you, and it takes you on the subway. It takes you to the library. It takes you to a pub. I think that could be a big deal. I could easily see myself going down to the Irish pub down the street, playing some Monster Hunter, playing some Madden if that's what's up. I could easily see that being a thing. So Switch parties could be real.
Yeah, I could see that both being like a huge thing in Japan, especially, but also, it goes along with what Iwata was saying when the Wii U was coming out. A lot of his comments that I think people didn't pay enough attention to about what was cool about the Wii U was and people got too trapped on his misuse of the word, parasite, for saying that a console is like a parasite to a television, where he should have said symbiote, I guess, but people got too distracted by that they didn't pay attention to what he meant, I think, which is that the idea that, a console experience has to be tied down to a TV. It like anchors you. And the idea that you could take a portable experience and make it a console experience, not just by being able to dock it, but, kicking out a kickstand and 2 extra controllers and playing some local multiplayer at a restaurant or something, That's really cool. Yeah.
I'm down with it.
Will?
Yeah. I just think it's the modular controls. I think the fact that you can do that, you can mix and match different control schemes, even cater entire control setups to specific games. I think that's a big feature of the Switch that's not talked about much in the discourse. It kind of gets ignored. I think that's what it is for me.
I think, going with what you're saying, I think there's a lot of money in that, not even just from different control schemes, but even just from like colors and designs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think there's bank Nintendo can make there, because I'll say straight up, I'll buy, if they make some like nice looking like rust orange like Joy-Cons, I'll add those to my black Switch. I'll pay the little bit extra for those just to get those, because the way it looks. And I feel a little ashamed to admit that because it's a little vain, but it's that kind of thing. People love personalization, You have all the different iPhone cases and stuff, and being able to switch those off, even if it's just exactly the same mechanisms, could be a huge business like boost for them. I'm going to say my pick is the ability to dock with various docks. I have a TV upstairs and I have a TV downstairs. If I can take my game, my whole system up with me, and then just slide it into a separate dock, which seems to be the case of what they showed in the trailer at the end with Splatoon, where they had the docks set up for the tournament and they slid them into their docks. It's like that kind of thing is really cool to me. Just like, it's not even the hybrid aspect of going from console to portable. It's literally going from one console to another console by carrying as little as possible with you.
That's cool.
All right. Next up here, name 3 things that you have yet to be shown that you want besides games. 3 things that are not confirmed. We don't know about yet.
I don't know. A touch screen. I don't really have 3 things. If you're not saying games, then I don't. Touch screen, maybe the pointer thing. That's about it.
Mike?
Yeah, well, I think that's mostly mine was like the usable IR pointer. I want that, but I guess you could sort of link that to an alternate controller design. If there's an IR pointer on the right side above where I can, use that as a pointer feature in a game, I like my pointer. I want that, and I want a Joy-Con with a proper D-pad on it. I want to see that.
Yeah.
I need my proper pad. We've gone over chat, but that's, I want some sort of chat / account system streamlining done here. Those are the big ones.
Yeah. All I'm looking for is system level voice chat, or even better, video chat. That's it. I don't think I've really thought about anything else.
I'm saying multi-touch touchscreen, specifically multi-touch. No more resistive. Yeah, motion control, because I do like motion control. Even in subtle uses, I really like it. And the other big one for me is that I want them to turn like Miiverse and stuff like that into like an API that's system wide, so that when you go to make a Miiverse post, you don't have to exit the game and go into Miiverse. Like it can pop up within the game. And I want it to be something that's easy for developers to implement, you know? So if it could just be like an API, like a little bit of code that they can throw in and it just works, that would be like perfect for me. And that works not even just for that, but it could be for everything. You could put in the API for the voice chat so that, you know, the game can choose to knock you out or choose to let you in, and then it just would work like party chat if it lets you in, you know? Anything like that where it could use APIs instead of having you exit a game and wait like 20 seconds to load out into a settings screen, you know?
Agreed.
Last question. How successful do you think the Switch will be in first year and then in lifetime? So I'm going to say I'm thinking 10 million first year, 30 to 40 million lifetime. Mike?
Really, 30 to 40 million only. I guess I could see that, yeah. I guess like the range we would look at, I think the Wii moved something like 3 million by the end of like 2006, but like 20 million by the end of 2007. It took off like a rocket. So something between 3 and 20 million in the first year. I'd hesitate to even say 5. So 5 to 10 million, I think might be optimistic but possible in the first time. Lifetime, I think they could do 40 to 60 million. The 3DS is not part of what you would call a growing market now, but it is a market that still exists. I don't think you can just toss on top the Wii U user base because there's probably a lot of Wii U users that also had a 3DS.
I'd say most.
So I don't think you can just combine those two user bases, but I think 40 to 60 million is doable to them. It's viable. They're not going to get, everyone seems to think Nintendo's going to be, when are they going to get back to 2007 level profits and stuff like that? That's not going to be happening.
Yeah.
I think they want is a sustainable business model. They want to be that, whatever that really old Japanese hotel in Hot Spring. It's been run like by 50 generations of families. That's what Nintendo wants. They want longevity and stability. 40 to 60 million gets them there, and I think they can do it.
Alex?
Something like that, similar to the 3DS, basically. But I also think the first year, like, it depends a lot on their price, right? Like, the DS and the 3DS both didn't take off until the price was right. So, assuming that they hit the right price, then I would say, yeah, like, above 10 million first year. Maybe less since it's starting in March, I don't know. But lifetime, yeah, I'm expecting it to be like within the ballpark of the 3DS, basically. Not the DS, I guess, because that was really good, but the 3DS.
So that's what, about 60 million, right?
Yeah, 3DS is at 60 right now.
Will?
I think it's going to be at least as successful as the 3DS has been. It's gonna outsell both PS4 Pro and Xbox Scorpio combined. I'll say that right now. If at the end of the day, life to date, Switch will outsell both those consoles. Book it. Yeah, I'm not including the regular Xbox One and PS4, obviously, but those systems, yes.
And so for the last part of the podcast, we're going to do a little bit of a report card based on what we know so far about the Switch and Nintendo's performance here. So starting off the concept, I'm going to say an A on the concepts. Mike?
Oh, absolutely A+. This is what they needed to do.
Yeah,
Alex?
Going off of what we've seen so far, yeah, the message has been really clean. It's pretty much everything that we wanted it to be. They've got us at a point where we're expecting they do it right, as opposed to hoping they don't do it wrong.
That's a big change.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess A+ too. I don't know what these scores.
Will?
7 out of 7.
Sorry.
What's your report card grade for the concept?
For the concept, A, obviously.
Okay.
It's fantastic concept.
Let's go to features. Will, you're up first?
Features A,
Oh, we're doing grades on everything.
I guess.
Just give it all an A, man.
There's one area I think that they're a little behind on. Games. We still don't know enough.
Yeah, because we still don't know. Yeah.
That's why they get an I. That's an incomplete.
Yeah, I've gotten that before. I know what it means.
2017 right now, because it's after midnight my time, and I'm still wondering, is there going to be voice chat on this thing? I mean,
Yeah.
am I going to be able to do Monster Hunter and talk to people? That's a problem.
I think it's just kind of skipping over these then, if we're all pretty much looking A's all around. I think the strongest areas here are message clarity and possibilities. I am impressed with the clarity of Nintendo's message.
Yeah.
Very much. That's commercial didn't even look like it was made by Nintendo. It was so good.
Yeah.
With what was it? Probably a 2.5 minute commercial. They communicated more clearly what that device was than they ever did
Yeah, than an entire E3 event did for the Wii U.
Not just an entire E3 event. I mean, years. There's still people who don't quite know what the Wii U is, and they've hit it with the Switch. People know exactly what it is, and they know what to expect. That is staggering that Nintendo actually pulled that off, considering how horrendous their marketing has been.
So we ran very long, but we're going to call it a quits here. So this was our discussion about our speculation about what we think about the Nintendo Switch and what we think's coming for it. So you can check that out on YouTube. You can check out a previous one we did with Will, Alex, and Nick, I believe, was with us for that one.
Yeah, Nick was
way back in the NX days with some wild speculation there.
Oh, geez. I can only imagine where speculation was. I think you were really pushing the all-in-one system. So kudos to you, Tyson, for calling that. Pat yourself on the back.
I've been since it happened. It's like a chronic condition.
Yeah.
And I believe we're going to do another one of these after the January 12th event.
These are, it only makes sense to see what happens and then reflect on that versus what our expectations here are, and to contrast what we got right, what we got wrong. Did Nintendo excite us into buying a Switch day one? Did they massively disappoint us? Is Nintendo doomed? Which is actually the eternal question. They're always doomed.
Secret. They're always doomed.
Yeah. We will find out Thursday evening.
Yeah, Thursday evening, January 12th. I remember towards the end of my time at Operation Rainfall, there was a E3 conference that was coming up, and I remember saying very clearly, this is Nintendo's E3 to lose. Like, by all rights, they should win this conference, and win it handily. But they would have to screw up badly, and it would be completely on them. Like, it wouldn't be Microsoft stealing it or Sony stealing it. It would be Nintendo sabotaging themselves.
Sweet summer child.
Where it was one more thing.
Yeah.
Nintendo Land.
And that was the specific one I'm talking about, and it was theirs to lose, and they just went and proved it by losing it. So I'm going to say that again. Unfortunately, I don't believe in jinxes, so I'm just going to say...
Jinxing it!
the hype that Nintendo has building up here, it's theirs to lose. If they all they have to do is match what people are within reason are expecting. Just put on a decent show, and they're going to have all the hype in the world behind them.
Right. People aren't expecting the sun and the stars here. So, people do have reasonable expectations, and if Nintendo just meets those, they'll be fine. So Nintendo would really has to go out of their way to underdeliver. Like, to have some massive blow like Zelda is delayed until summer or something stupid to really, piss people off and really lose this momentum that they have.
On second thought, we've rethought this whole open world thing with Zelda.
Yeah.
Actually, we're just going to cancel Breath of the Wild. We're done. Sorry.
Yeah, we're done.
We're gonna go with another Zelda concept. It's kind of like Spirit Tracks.
He's gonna come up and he says, "Well, they're gonna say Microsoft canceling Scalebound inspired us to cancel Zelda."
Their bravery has inspired us.
Their bravery has inspired us, just like Apple's bravery.
And by the way, the Switch does not have a headphone port.
So courageous.
Very courageous.
Well, all will be revealed soon enough, gents.
Yes.
So thank you everybody for listening to this long and rambling podcast of us, Nintendo Enthusiast. And until next time, bye.
Hey guys.